Hello and welcome to Big Bandit Gaming. I'm your host Troy, and today we have Colton.
What's up?
Josh.
Hello.
And you guessed it, Isaiah.
Long time no see.
Good. All right. How was your guys' holiday?
Well.
Yeah? Any of you guys travel?
No.
No.
Nope. Not really.
Can't.
See, I did it right. Everyone traveled to me this year. It did mean I had maybe we had to host something, and I had 4 other holiday things we had to go to, so it just like never ended for 4 or 5 days. But yeah, it was good. All right, real quick before we came in, is there anything you guys got for the holidays that was kind of cool?
I'd say the first thing that came to mind is Victoria got me a signed leather-bound copy of Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I think that is pretty cool. I like to pick it up and hold it once a day and just look at it. It feels nice.
That is cool.
I should have gone before you because I got a Kickstarter copy of Yumi and the Nightmare Catcher. Is that what it's called?
Yes, a Kickstarter
Yumi
copy?
the Nightmare Painter.
Right? I think they haven't printed the ones for the public yet, or I think they still sell them off the website. But my dad was able to get it at Half Price Books, and he picked it up for us for Christmas.
Oh wow. Dang, that's freaking
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love the art in that book.
It's not signed though, so it's not as cool as yours.
Oh, okay. Well,
you kind of stole thunder, Colton. I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
That was kind of rude. All right. Sam got me one of those Ember mugs, the mugs with the batteries in them that keep your coffee at a certain temperature, and it works really well. So I have a my coffee is like 3 hours in and still at 161 degrees. It's perfect. It's great.
I think I saw that. I work at Walmart now, as you guys know, and I think I had a box full of those at some point that we just didn't know what to do with, and
they're a little pricey.
Weird. No, yeah, $100.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the size, but yeah. So
that's true.
That one's really good.
I got to go to see the Sonic Symphony in Dallas.
Oh,
that was the most Isaiah thing that needed to happen before I hit my grave. That was so cool. I got to buy a Sonic Symphony shirt and a poster. I passed on buying the lights that you can sway around during the songs, but it was really cool to see everyone else who did, because I would look around in the symphony room and I would see all of them turn red when Shadow songs came out. I was like, oh, it's so good. And when Silver had his own song, I forget what it's called, but it's from Sonic 06, everyone turned theirs to white. Very cute, very awesome time.
Was Crush 40 there?
Yes, I think most of the crew, except for obviously the lead singer, because around that time there is I think a lawsuit going about with Live and Learn, and just the rights about it, and the paying for it.
I'm sorry, that's funny. All right.
Yeah.
I love that they're fighting over that song.
Oh yeah.
Live and Learn. All right, good. That sounds fun. Cool. All right. Are you guys ready to jump in? If you don't know, if you didn't read the title and you just clicked blindly, or you just hit play on your AirPods and we just started playing for some odd reason. Yeah. This is the Game of the Year 2024 for Big Bandit Gaming. So we have a number of categories here to start with. Some the same, some different from last year. But we're doing something familiar here. We're doing our look back category. Now, what this category is that we look at our top 3 that we personally picked from last year, and we look and say, are we still right? Now we have a little more time to think about it. Maybe played a few games that we didn't get to last year. Are you still down with your choices? So it looks like we're going to go in order. So Colton, let us know what your top 3 was last year, starting from 3.
Yeah, so number 3 was Spider-Man 2. I'm feeling good about where that was. I still remember a lot of good times I had with that. It was a lot of fun. The boss fights I remember not liking so much, but I liked it enough to put it at number 3. I think that's good. All the way up to 1, right?
Yep.
Or you would okay. And then Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom at 2, which I remember playing, thinking, "There's no way this is not going to be my number 1 at the end of the year." And lo and behold, Alan Wake 2 came out to be one of my favorite games in a very long time, and that is staying at number 1 in my mind.
Nice. Not a change to the top 3.
Nope.
Wow. Okay. Josh. Josh, you are famed in this podcast for very much changing your mind about your personal list.
What are you talking about?
Watch this be totally the same. All right, Josh.
Are we supposed to update it?
If you wanted to, I mean, you could just tell us. You don't have to update on the doc.
Okay. Let me see here.
Actually, don't
Looking
update
back at my
it.
list.
Just let us know so we're surprised.
Okay. So
First tell us what's on there, and then tell us what you would change if you.
So
would.
last year, I believe this was my list last year, unless I messed something up. Zelda number 3, Final Fantasy 16 number 2, and Star Wars number 1.
Jedi Survivor, yes.
Yeah. Well, there was only one Star Wars game last year.
Oh yeah, that's true. The Ubisoft one was this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the only thing that might change would just be a little change. Lies of P, I might like more than Zelda.
Oh.
That's fitting.
That's it though.
Was that your
Nothing
number
big.
4? Was that your number 4? Or did Liza P jump?
Yes, it was my number 4.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. That's not huge. That's like
crazy.
a little swap. That's a little swap. That's not like a number 1 swap.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, my turn. So for me, number 3 was Final Fantasy 16. Number 2 was Resident Evil 4 Remake, and number 1 was Alan Wake 2. Pretty much I'm sticking right there. I think over time especially after playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I appreciate what Final Fantasy 16 is, and I still really enjoy that game. Resident Evil 4 Remake is probably the best paced third-person action game since Uncharted 2, and I still stand by that. That game is really, really freaking good. If Alan Wake 2 would not have come out that year, Resident Evil 4 Remake would have been my number 1 easy, because that was an early game that year. But yes, Alan Wake 2 is I don't know where, but it is like a top game of all time material for me. Got to play the DLC this year, so that was fun as well. So cool. All right, Isaiah.
So number 3, I had a Resident Evil 4 remake. I really enjoyed the original, and when the remake came out, I loved it even more, and like it improved in everything the original game had, and I think a bit better. If you want more of the corny, fun style, go for the original. But for a remake, buy it. That's the best way to play Resident Evil 4 on its multiple platforms that's released on. And then number 2 is Sea of Stars. I'm a sucker for RPGs. I'm a sucker for like just generally good and interesting like mechanics for the RPG. Like you got Chrono Trigger, you got Mario and Luigi, those kind of mechanics. Implement that, and you got like a good soundtrack, amazing world design or like world building generally. Sea of Stars like right there, love it. And then Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Nothing beats a sandbox, like go your own way with like your own builds and stuff. And you have that with like interesting side quests, and especially the side storyline like Zelda that like really sold it for me. And I mean, I can
you went crazy for that game.
Yeah, I love
I don't think you slept for a week.
All right, so Isaiah,
playing that.
Are you sticking to those 3 that year in that order?
I like to announce no. I like to announce I binge played Control DLC, Alan Wake Remastered, and Alan Wake 2. And I adore Alan Wake 2. I would say Tears of the Kingdom, I think, stays first because of the blip of time that it happened. It was really special to me, so it stays. But Alan Wake 2, it deserves number 2 spot. And Sea of Stars gets knocked down by 1. So it'll be Tears of the Kingdom number 1, number 2, Alan Wake 2, and then Sea of Stars. I loved Loved my time with that game.
Nice.
And I would easily recommend, oh, I don't know about getting Alan Wake or Remedy games. Shut up. Suck it up. Find the time. Get into all of the games.
Yeah,
I'm
Josh.
serious.
Josh,
great.
that was such a good impression of you. I thought you butt in.
Great games.
Cool. Yeah, I would say looking at it, Legendary Tears of the Kingdom and Alan Wake 2 really, really swept last year. So
For sure.
cool. Fun fact, I still have not played more than 2 hours of Tears of the Kingdom. So
Are you serious?
You're not missing much.
that's gonna be great on my Switch 2.
It's gonna look
where
great.
it won't run my
yeah.
garbage.
4K patch?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, 4K-ish. I'm just hoping for the frame rate to go up, honestly.
100
All right,
man.
here we go. So that was our top 3. So we had a couple changes there. Nothing too crazy. All right. So let's jump on to our next award here. All right. So our next category is Best Old Game of 2024. So still kind of going to 2024. I mean, it sounds like we already kind of know Isaiah's. So Isaiah, we know Alan Wake 2 is probably the correct answer here. But if you want to put something else in just to do it,
You want to do it
okay
now?
with that. I'm okay with that. No, you can go. You can think about it.
Okay, great.
All right, cool. Colton, was there a game last year that you played, or a or a live service game that didn't quite make your top 10? Is kind of the parameters there.
So I actually did not play any of the games that came out in 2023 that I played this year. So actually, I probably should have thought about this more, because I feel like this doesn't make the list technically then. But I am currently replaying a lot of The Witcher 3. Yes,
Oh, you
I
know
know
what?
that doesn't count.
But why doesn't it count?
Did the
Because
PS5 version
it's
come
old
out?
game of 2024, and for some reason when I was building this list, I thought it was like, oh, what's like the best game that didn't come out this year that you played?
I'll take
But
it.
I didn't.
Take
I
it.
didn't.
Wait,
That's
I'm
my bad.
confused. That's not what it is.
No, it's just best old game of. Oh, I know.
Of last
Oh,
year.
it came out a previous year,
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
and that's my bad. I didn't read that part, so I was just.
There you go.
I just put The Witcher 3 because that's the game.
You know what? I'm
That's
gonna
the game I've been
blow up.
playing a lot.
I'm doing this live, folks. I'm blowing up this question. All right,
Uh-oh.
best old game you played.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't really.
No, you're good.
I
You're
like
good.
right when we started the podcast, I was reading and I said, "Oh, I did not read that part of the question. Whoops."
My
You're
brain
good.
started working.
But The Witcher 3, coming back to it on the
Yes,
PS5
for like the
version,
third
I take
time.
it.
Yeah, the PS5 version. I've never
Cool.
played through the whole game with the PS5 version, and it is so nice. I've started it when the PS5 version came out, but I only put like maybe 7 or 8 hours into it, and this time I just started over, and I don't know why, but I'm playing it on Death March.
The hardest
wow.
difficulty.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
And it's pretty
Yeah.
fun so far, so
cool.
I'm
Yeah.
liking that
yeah.
a lot.
All right, Josh.
So I spent probably the first 3 months of last year playing through Persona 5 Royal.
Oh.
Yeah. I had played Persona 5 for a little bit. Like I played the first 3 dungeons.
Oh, you'd never beat the original. Interesting.
I never beat the original. And I heard that the story updates were good and stuff. So I was like,
Yes.
okay, I'll go back and I'll play through it finally. And yeah, I think we talked about it before, but I really liked it. I liked the story changes. It made it worthwhile to get back to. Yeah, there's no other game that comes close. It's
Cool.
a great game.
Yeah.
Persona 5. Royal.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
Okay.
Very long game made longer. Yeah.
130 hours.
I need to try
Yeah.
again and beat
Like I
that
said,
game.
It took me 3 months. So
Yeah. It's on everything now. You put it on a Switch, All
Hold
right.
your horses, Colton.
Yeah.
You gotta play 3 houses.
Well, now all you guys need to play Scramble, because that has a really good, fun story in it. All right. My game there is this came out last year, and I heard people talk about it. I'm like, ooh, sounds very cool, looks very cool. I'll wait till like it hits Game Pass, or I'll get back to it, and I just totally forgot about it. But that is El Paso Elsewhere. Now, what El Paso Elsewhere is it is a a love letter to Max Payne. And it's an indie game, and the narration is on point, so on point. So that like the so if you hadn't played Max Payne, you know the in Alan Wake 2, you know, like the gruff cop dude, his voiceovers.
Yeah.
Like it's very much that vibe. But that is the like main character of the game. But yeah, it's awesome. The soundtrack, it's like a really grungy hip hop soundtrack, and the guy who does all the voice acting like raps in half of them, and they're just like all banger tracks. And even cooler is why I put it back on my radar is I got a Backbone for my 15 Pro Max. And so I was looking for games to play, and that was on the App Store for like $4. So it plays awesome on my phone with the Backbone, and yeah, just a really, really cool game. So yeah, El Paso Elsewhere. I recommend it. It's good.
Kick.
All right, Isaiah, have you thought about it? The last second curveball?
Oh yeah, easily.
Oh, okay, cool.
Boys, I have a weird fixation with games that like put a bunch of people in very ages and like different backgrounds into a game that essentially is a killing game. One has to come out on top. Not necessarily a battle royale, but more or less a fight to survive, right? I'd like to put down It's Your Turn to Die. I love Your Turn to Die. If you look at the game right now on Steam, you'll find it has overwhelming reviews. It's in early access, and the last chapter is just not done yet. That's what we're waiting for right now, the very last chapter. And you've noticed how it's very anime-like. It's similar to Danganronpa, which is another great like killing game to check out as well. It's the same kind of like vein.
Is it a visual novel like
visual novel type beat? Yeah. With investigation like mechanics, the spiel. It's so cool, and I think what really makes this game stand out is that I could see this coming out on the DS or the PSP or Vita time, and I'd say I'd fit the period so well, not only for the graphics but also the sound design. Like, I'm surprised how young this game is, realistically. But more importantly, I also just love it because like it is a bit more serious and like just generally the stakes and what they mean and like how you grow attached to these characters. It's just a bit more meaningful to me personally. I love Danganronpa 2. Like that's like my bread and butter when I think about like the killing game. These like colorful cast of characters, amazing aesthetics, and like just also interesting mechanics. I think of that game, but this game, man, soundtrack is banging. You got the visuals, you got the cool designs, and again, like different people, different backgrounds. There are literal like toddlers, kids in this game. That wasn't in Danganronpa. Those are like a high schoolers. We got adults, old people, teachers, and you got like 2 literal children. And it's very interesting to see a morally gray game like kind of like hit you in the face. But yeah, go check out Your Turn to Die. Look forward to that next chapter coming out, hopefully this year. The developer still says we're working on it. They're just getting busy with stuff. But like, hey, look forward to that game. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like the art style. It's cool. It looks like a DS game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. All right, cool. Nice job, gents. All right. So we are down to our last 3 categories, or should I say, no, sorry, 4 categories before we get to our top 10 of the year. And our next one, while we're still excited about things, is best music. So, Colton, was there a game that had where the music really caught you, or there was like it had like this one track, anything like that?
Yeah, I would probably my first thinking was Astrobot. So I think that is definitely my answer. And I don't know, all the music I thought it was really fun, and like I felt like every song matched the level. Like it felt like the song belonged in the environment that I was playing in. You know, it was really fun.
Yeah.
So that would probably be my answer. Like I had another one, but the other answer I had was more of like a single song that happened in the game, but it was so perfect. But I didn't want to. But you know, I felt like that overshadowed Astrobot because it had like almost every song in the whole game.
You want to shout out?
Yes, it was freaking. It's that the music that plays when you launch from Helldiver.
Oh, Helldiver! I knew it. I knew it.
It's so perfect.
I've been waiting for you to say that.
It matches like it's got such a cool, like militaristic like style. Like when you launch.
Yeah.
And
I like that answer.
Yeah, but I felt like I didn't want to say that because I felt like Astrobot, like all the music was great.
Astrobot, a lot of it's remixes, right?
No, a lot of it's original. Like a ton of it's original. There's just too many levels.
But I do agree. Those songs in Astrobot, it helps make each level its own character.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are.
There's like that first level you get to, that like really poppy, like the first area is so good. And then there's another one. It's the first level where you turn into a marble, and I swear to God, it just sounds like a track straight from Sonic Adventure. So
that's so good.
Yeah, so it's really good. Astrobot soundtrack is a really solid choice, and I almost did put that on there too. So cool.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, and I will in post. You will also hear a little bit of what we're talking about, including the Helldivers one. So you're probably already hearing that, listeners, but we're not. All right, Josh, what you got?
This was really tough. I think I had the same dilemma where I don't know if I want to shout out like one song or like a game that had one song that really stood out, or if I want to give it to a game that just had good music throughout. I hadn't made up my mind. I'm gonna give it to Stellar Blade.
I'm so happy you did that.
This game is a very interesting game, but I'm sure we'll get to that later. The music it did something to me, and it engrossed me into that world that like I didn't think it would be able to. The world in that game seemed so dry from the onset, but once I really just let myself go and like gave myself over to the music, I was like, wow, there's something here. Like I just like existing here with these vibes, you know?
Yeah, it's chill. I mean,
it's chill, but
it's super near inspired, which is like the biggest compliment I can give a game soundtrack. But I see what you mean. It's chiller. It's not as haunting, I will say.
Yeah, this one, it was chill and haunting at the same time. And I've never experienced that. And I was like, this is weird, but I like it.
Yeah, those like the campfire songs that you can choose between are all like just
I wish
amazing.
there were more, but they all hit so well. I was like, oh my God.
No, I was very close to picking Stellar Blade. Yeah, I was. These were the two I was truly between, with Astrobot like on a third. But yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm glad you picked that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, any other than like the campfire ones, is there any tracks like?
I mean, all of the music's good. It's always been hard for me like playing Souls games during like boss fights, like to really care about the music, to be like, oh yeah, that one boss. No, I don't remember. I'm sure it was all good, but I was focused on not dying. Like, I'm not listening to
your
the
palms are
music.
too busy being sweaty.
Yeah,
Yes.
dude. But
Yeah. I like the main like city theme that I think it like progressed. Like they would add like choral arrangements to it and instruments over the
Choral?
course of the story.
That's cool.
So yeah, very cool. Stellar Blade.
good
Good
music.
choice. Good choice. All right. So my choice for the best music of 2024 in gaming is Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong, like within the game and all the boss fights, in the same way like the Soul series can do, like all the boss music is so good, and just like the little themes that hit, but really pushes it over the edge. Like I am brushing over that. All that music is like amazing, but what really pushes it over the edge is after every chapter they have a music video that has like a different art style, explaining like the background of the boss. So one of them is like all stop motion, one of them's animated, one of them's done like all on a scroll, and they are like all incredible looking and done. And there's one specifically called Nonsense, which not only is Black Myth Wukong like one of the best soundtracks of the year, Nonsense is the best track of the year for me by far. And it hits really hard when it's paired with the music video that plays. And I suggest you look up Black Myth Wukong Nonsense, even if you plan on never playing the game, because it is like a stunning like 6 minutes. But yeah, like a lot of like awesome like choral pieces, kind of like Stellar Blade, but not definitely not the same, a little more traditional. But yeah, just like really haunting, really catchy, really cool music all over the place in this game. So yeah, Black Myth Wukong.
I did not expect that.
Yeah,
Neither did I. I don't think I heard a lot of people talk about the music when it came to that game.
Yeah.
But I guess I didn't go out of my way to hear a lot of people talk about the game, so maybe that's why.
Yeah,
Cool,
it's
though.
good.
Okay. All right, boys. It's easily the first track that comes to mind, and that summarizes 2024 as being the amazing game of like. Oh, thank you. Amazing like year for gaming and music. Bellatra main theme. When I'm doing my homework and I'm going about my day, I am thinking about that song. I'm thinking about the different renditions I've seen on YouTube, the orchestra, the Game Boy Advance one, the one in Earthbound font. Like, there's so many renditions of the theme. It's just so timeless and a classic. Like, I love that theme. It's perfect in every shape and way for like a video game like main theme to be, and to encompass the vibe of it. And Balatro theme is perfect.
I support this 100%. This was my second choice.
Real.
It's a really good theme song. I agree.
Now, I have 2 more tracks really quick. Sonic Cross Generations, banging music always. Sonic, it's Sonic, literally it is. Kingdom Valley specifically, so good. I listen to that track all the time. The Sonic 06 like soundtrack, it's so freaking good. But that's like same old. We know that. Okay, Hades 2, Darren Core, he's one of my top artists of Spotify. I'm one of his top listeners, like throughout all of 2024. Into Tartarus takes the cake though. Into Tartarus and Time of Time is so good. You put a God of Time and you put little clock sounds in your song. Guess what you have? It's peak. It's great. It's awesome. I love it.
Nice. I'll see how much of that I actually put in at the end there. But what we do know is the Balatro theme will show itself
for sure.
I'm just gonna paste this here during a break if you want to like have something to do. All right, here we go. Not while we're talking. All right, next category. For you to don't know, I just posted that YouTube video in our doc of the music video.
Oh,
all right. So next one, maybe we're gonna be, I don't know, more fired up about. We'll see. That is most disappointing game. So yeah, this should be interesting. I know we've had a pretty sparse podcast rotation, so I don't know what you guys have been like angry about. And I'm looking forward to finding out. So Colton, why don't you start us out? What is your most disappointing game?
Well, I will have to say that this year I've probably played the fewest games. I mean, probably since I've been able to buy my own video games for myself. So I played very little games this year, which means I didn't really go out of my comfort zone a whole lot, which usually means the games I'm playing, usually my expectations were met, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there were some that I played, and the one that I probably am the most disappointed about, but to be fair, before I say it, it's not necessarily the game's fault. It's just because I just think my computer isn't as strong as I would like it to be. But I also think there could be more sliders to turn things down to help it run, because I could not get this game to run great at all. Is Nightingale. Nightingale is one of the games I was actually kind of excited about.
You were looking forward to that, yeah.
Yeah, I was, and I was one of the early access people. I paid a little bit less than most people because I bought it a lot earlier, and I was really excited to play. But man, I could not get that thing to run on my computer at all, and like it didn't look super like graphic heavy or anything like in the previews that they had. So, and I've ran games that I feel like look better than Nightingale, like just fine. So I thought I'd have a decent chance of having a good time with it, but man, I just couldn't. So I just had to uninstall that and wait till I get a better graphics card, or I would like to at some point just get a whole new PC anyways. But maybe I'll just wait till I get a new graphics card first and try it out again. But I was pretty excited for that game because I love those type of survival games like that. But it was not in the cards this year, so that's fine. I'm not too fired up about it because I know it. It's not entirely the game's fault, so I'm not too upset about it, but I was disappointed.
Before you put down judgment on it. I get it.
Yeah.
All right. So Nightingale. Josh?
So I don't think anyone here recommended this game to me. For some reason, I decided to pick up Warhammer Space Marine 2. Now, Troy, I know you had mentioned it, but I don't know if you recommended it necessarily.
No, I just started playing it 2 weeks ago, and it's a game I would not have wanted to play single player, is what I will say.
Okay, that's fair. I felt like leading up to it, everyone was talking about how good the first game in the series was, and like how good it was for single player, like as a hack and slash kind of short video game. And I guess this one lives up to that, but I just had such a bad time with this video game. And I I would stop every session after about an hour and just I was upset, and I would have to turn to my wife and tell her how upset I was that I wasted my time playing this video game.
Dang.
The combat, I don't get it. I feel like they're going for a Gears of War, and I know that it's more of like hack and slash meets Gears of War, and I hear that that's the defense for it, but I just don't think they hit the mark for fun combat. There are so many times in this game where I died and I just didn't feel like I was being overwhelmed in the game, but I would just die. And that was extremely frustrating for me. And the guns, the impact of the guns and the melee weapons, they just weren't there. Like there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of gore, but I never felt like I was really like hitting those monsters. So like there was no satisfaction for me in any of the kills in this game. And that's a huge deal for a game that's trying to go for Gears of War and that style, especially with all the blood and crap. I had to play like tucked away in my room so that my kids wouldn't see it for nothing.
You know, it's a game I would have gotten bored with pretty fast playing alone, but it I can see I get it. I totally get it. I think I enjoyed it more than you, but I'm also playing with Wilfredo. And so we
Yeah,
can just
and
kind of like chill and I mean if anything in this game is very cool visually, there's all like they put so much crap on the screen in kind of a cool way, but yeah, I get it.
yeah,
I get
eh.
it. So, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, yeah, maybe
It's such a
hop
short
on.
game, and I still couldn't get through it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I wouldn't have wanted to play it alone, so I I get where you're coming from. So that is Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. And yes, I was also surprised it wasn't more Gears of War ish. It's definitely more hack and slash and get in there sort of thing. But not in the same way like um Vanquish is, because
I mean,
Vanquish
that
is a
that
game.
game rocks.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Vanquish is a game. So I get it. I get it. All right. So my most disappointing game, I'm trying to stall because my dock was closed because I was looking up something. But all right. Yes, that's right. It is Hellblade 2 Senua's
Oh,
Sacrifice.
You
Oh,
loved
dang.
that first game. You showed us that game. You showed us all these cool technicalities with it, and it was a really exciting time for you originally.
Yes, I really liked that first game.
Yeah.
It's not like my favorite game of all time, but like they did so much like interesting things with like the audio visual elements. Like the puzzles weren't like great, but they were like, they were simple enough I got through.
Oh, cool.
They were doing a lot of like stuff that like Remedy's doing where they're taking like actual actors and like implementing them into the game in real time. Like they were doing a lot of that work, which none of that's in Hellblade 2. So yeah, coming into Hellblade 2, I was like, you know what? If it's just like a really, really pretty version of like Hellblade 1, I knew it was shorter. I'd be like, oh, I'll be happy. But yeah, I just fizzled out on it. I got bored. It wasn't as engaging mechanically. And it starts out weirdly, really slow and never picks up. And the puzzles, like I said, the puzzles weren't like great in the first one. It's not why you play that game. But like the puzzles were really annoying. Like I had to like just be like, I don't have the patience for this. I'm gonna look this up. And when I look it up, I'm like, how was I supposed to even see that? Like, sort of thing.
One of those.
Like
Yeah,
that.
and so there's just enough. I mean, it is one of the better looking games I've ever played, but like that's all you can say about it, at the end of the day. And so yeah, I was just really disappointed because I really love that. I really love that first game. The weird thing about this, the best time I had with it is it was the first time I interfaced with GeForce Now. And so I tried the GeForce Now service through my Mac, and that was cool. I got to play it at like 120 frames per second and VRR through my Mac, and that was like wild. And it actually ran really well. But at the end of the day, the game was just not speaking to me, and I'm surprised. I was surprised by that. I was not expecting to have such a different just feelings about it coming out. So yeah, there you go. Hellblade 2 Senua's Sacrifice. Disappointing. It just bums me out. That's all.
Mm.
I'm very sorry for your loss. You get 5 big booms. I'm not gonna do that on the mic. Boom, boom. I love that meme. Okay, so gentlemen, you know how much I love video games, and you know I'm pretty open minded with like every kind of game that I jump into. Troy, you know I know a lot of games for my age and for my generation. But multiverses? Come on. Come the hell on, dude. How do you go from a glitchy, janky, bit of a slug, but somewhat of a chaotic and fun multiplaying platform fighter and hit the reset button, win fighting game of the year at the Game Awards, and then come back and said, yeah, so the little things you kind of liked about the game, it's not really there anymore, and it's even sluggier, it's even slower. The physics don't feel good, and you're not gonna have fun with all the characters. They're not fun in the way where like, oh, they're lower tier, but if you're really good, you can make it work. No, dude, you're not changing the meta with Garnet or freaking Steven Universe. I'm sorry, they're just cheeks. They're just bad. They're just not fun to play. Like I'm so upset. I'm so upset with how this game came back out of beta apparently or whatever. And so here's a full release, and here's all the predatory microtransactions that like make you like pay for the damn characters so you can even try them out. And then you lock them behind a battle pass, and it's just not fun. I'm sorry. I played it for like 5 hours. I try my best to beat it, and I'm sometimes a bit pessimistic with certain games where if it kind of gives me a sour taste the moment I start it, I'm really mean towards it. But then like, oh, okay, you know what? It wins me over. I was just being a little baby. I just need like get my head out of my butt, you know? No. Multiverses is a genuine disappointment. I'm sorry that like it's getting shut down. Like it's gonna go turn offline after May, you know. But like, let's be so real. This is a learning moment for every platform fighting developer or fan. Look at this game, look at Rivals of Ether, look at Smash Brothers, and look at the other games and just take notes. Go on about your day. Anyways, go play Rivals of Ether for a good platforming fighting game that is inspired by Smash, and especially Smash Melee.
I was about to say the timing on this, considering that they just announced today they're shutting down after season 5. So yeah, you are not the first person I've heard say that about multiverses. That
I'm
they
sorry.
came in, it's like it's worse to play. Okay, that's what that.
I hate to be so mean about it, but like,
yeah, I
there's
get
no
it.
excuse.
You're not alone in it, obviously. Like the player count says it, but just like word of mouth too. People that liked the game. So yeah, I get it. I get it.
You heard me, bro. Like when I initially talked about it, I was like, yeah, guys, like my friends are getting into it. They're not really into fighting games.
I remember that one time we played it that one night. It was actually pretty fun.
It was pretty fun. Jake the dog's goated.
I think you were over, right, Josh? Like we all played it for the first time that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun at first.
Exactly.
For like
an
1
hour.
or 2 matches, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a damning for a live service game for you to say. I don't know, it's cool for an hour, and for the yeah. Okay, cool. That was Multiverses for Isaiah. All right, gentlemen, we're on to our next category, and this is a new category, and I just labeled it "We Like Other Things as Well." And so the point of this category, real quick, because I know this is a gaming-based podcast, so we don't often get a chance to talk about other forms of media. But I want you to give me a top 3 things that were not games. So movies, books, albums, TV, anime, board games, collectible card games, whatever it is this year that you liked that was not a video game. Colton. And we're just gonna run just run us through all 3 at once.
Okay, so the first one I think of is.
Are you starting number 3 or 1? Sorry.
Oh, Oh, you know what? Yeah, we'll start at 3.
Go.
I would say 3 is I really enjoyed Shogun. Shogun was a fantastic show to watch this year. It
Word.
was spectacular. I loved every second of it.
That last
Number
episode.
2.
Wait, I had to start that last episode, Colton. All right, continue.
Oh, I know that. Oh, yep. I'm actually thinking about like rewatching again. But anyways, the second one, I would say I absolutely loved the Bear season 2. That was such a good. There were so many good things about that season, and 2 episodes in particular, like are episodes that I think of,
Christmas one.
like the Christmas
Yeah,
one,
the
and then
Christmas one.
the Christmas one was so well done, and then the episode, I think it was right after Christmas or it was before Christmas. It was Richie's episode called Forts. That
I wanna say it was
episode,
after.
that's my favorite episode of the series. Freaking loved it. And the number 1, I would say, so this book series has kind of been on my backlog for I think like a year. Starting, I guess by this time it was on my backlog for like 2 years. And then Troy, I heard you talk about it, and I was like, oh, you know what? When I'm done with this book, I got to go do it. And it's the Red Rising books. I am 20. I think I have 30% left of the third initial trilogy of the series. So yeah, like Red Rising by Pierce Brown is spectacular.
Oh my god.
It's very like, it's very like heartbreaking and like a very good way, But love it.
Totally.
So.
All right. Ooh, I'm just destroying the dock. It's all right.
That's okay.
All right. While I'm fixing that, Josh, why don't you go to your number 3?
So this was really heartbreaking for me. I think I hate you because you made me realize I don't do that much else for entertainment besides play games.
You're like number 3, the park.
No, man, like
Driving to Walmart.
I spent so long trying to like make a list, and I guess I have 3, but I don't think they all really count. So if they all have to come out in 2024.
No. Go for it.
Okay. I started. I read a book in the Throne of Glass series. That was good. I don't remember which one it was.
Nice. Yeah. Very
but
popular.
my number 2 that actually came out last year was House of the Dragon season 2. That was good.
Victoria really liked that too.
I like fantasy stuff, so this is what we're gonna be looking at. And number 1 by a mile, like one of the best experiences I've had, like movie going in a long time, was Dune Part 2.
Oh yeah,
Dune
very good.
I can put that. Oh my god.
So I win.
Pretty good.
Thank you for that idea.
It was amazing, but yeah, I just didn't do that much of anything.
That's a good list.
Like,
That's a good list.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm like thinking about Doom, and I'm like, where would that go on my list now? Because I forgot that did come out last year.
It's like I don't think I listened to a single
very
song
good.
last year. I didn't watch an anime. Like, I don't even think I played a board game, Troy.
What?
I know.
Sell all of them.
Yeah, not one that haven't already played before, and even counting those, probably under 10.
Wow.
Like, it was a really weak year.
Wow, crazy. Okay.
I feel you.
No, I hear you now. Let me call. DM me on the side if you need to talk. Okay.
Yeah.
That's concerning.
I gotta get better help.
Yeah.
This podcast is not sponsored by Dell.
Nope.
Yeah. All right. It's funny. You'll see a list here that's somewhat similar. So my number 3 is Shogun.
Yeah, baby.
The cinematography, the acting, like all the actors they picked were perfect in their role. I would not trade them out for somewhere else. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, it would not work. It just would not work. Like Americo, the English dude, like just top to bottom, choice characters, really crazy moments where you're like, oh, I can't. That was a really intense scene, or I can't believe that just happened. Like,
and didn't that lead actress
done?
That lead actress like won best
she did.
lead actress, right? Yeah.
She won that year, very, very deservingly so. So, that is my number 3. Number 2 is an anime, and I was between two animes, and it's probably not the one you're thinking of. So, my number two is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. And the reason I love Frieren so much is it is not paced like almost any anime out there. It's very slow paced, but like in the most relaxing, chill way. But when they want to amp up the action, it hits so much harder because what's about, it's about this lady elf that she doesn't age, and the world's kind of passing her by, and it's just about like her journey on how to like make connections when she knows she's gonna outlive everyone, and just kind of how she interfaces with like different aspects of life. But it's so carefree till it isn't, and when it hits, it really hits. It's very pretty, it's very funny, well written, like I said, just kind of chilly paced, but just perfection. So good. That is the best anime that's come out this year. I like Dan to Dan quite a bit, but Frieren is my favorite anime this year. So there you go. All right. And then my number one, here you go, Colton, is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Probably the best book series I've read since like Name of the Wind and any of Brandon Sanderson's big stuff. It might actually beat both those. It's so good. So if you want an amazing, like Red Rising, I'll just explain the first book. Think of a space opera, Hunger Games, that pulls zero punches and has at least like 20 WTF moments within just the first book.
Yeah, that first book like kept me on my toes, dude. Like every chapter, I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know what's gonna happen now."
Yeah, just so many moments where you're like, "I did not expect that character to do that," or it fakes you out so hard and you didn't see it coming because it's so well written. So yeah, like super well written, super like crazily paced. I am on the sixth. I finished all 6 books this year, so I'm waiting on that 7th.
Oh, okay,
Very good. It continues to be good. I think the back half trilogy is very different from the first half, but in a way I still enjoy. So yeah, cool. Red Rising by Pierce Brown, super, super, super recommend it.
Yeah, I would have finished that 3rd book by now, but I'm doing like a weird thing where like I have a series I'm listening to on Audible when I'm at work working, and then I have a series on my Kindle, which is Red Rising, which I read when I can read my Kindle. And then I'm reading like the Wind and Truth, the physical copy. Like I'm reading I'm splitting my reading time, which I'm kind of enjoying it, but it's making everything last, quite a bit longer. But yeah.
No, I get it. It's good though. Like some of the characters in Red Rising, like, oh, it's so nice. So characters you love to hate. Like they have some of the best villains in that series I've ever seen. Like like characters you're like, ooh, oh, I hope you get what's coming to you. Or the scary part is like this character might not get what's coming to him. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, Red Rising is freaking amazing. God, it's so good. All right, Isaiah, top 3. Let's hear it.
Thanks to y'all and like all your entries, I was able to realize, oh wait, there's other things I liked from this year as well that I watched and like did. So first up, favorite movie that came out this year besides Dune Part 2, it's obvious, but Sonic 3. That is such a great love letter and adaptation of the Sonic Adventure 2 storyline to be adapted in the Sonic movieverse, where it's like it actually makes sense to the overarching plot for Sonic. And I think it's so cute. And Keanu Reeves as Shadow, it stole the show entirely. It's all about him, really it is. But like, man, like every time he was there, every time he's on screen, I was like, I can't get enough of this. I can't get enough of like the characterization, the writing, and just overall the performance and like the ending, the latter half. Oh, it's so good. Oh God, go watch it. It's HD. It's on HD and on Amazon. I'm pretty sure for like Video Prime. Go buy it, rent it. I don't care.
Sam and I had a great time watching that theaters.
It's so good.
It was a good time.
It was a good time. Favorite You know what? Yeah, that's my favorite book now. My favorite book that I listened to this year, besides Jeanette McCurdy's book, it was Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier. I love that book. Oh, it's so good. And each chapter focuses on different games and its development time and like what it went through, all the hurdles, all the crushing blows, but also like the rises, the highs. It's all great. It highlights different flaws, but also strength points to the video game industry and development. My favorite chapters are Stardew Valley and Shovel Knight. Goodness
Yeah,
God,
those are good chapters. Yeah, to see, especially the Stardew Valley chapter where you figure out that dude just like didn't do anything for 5 years and like really took a chance, and now he's like filthy rich. But good on him. Real modest dude.
Real, yeah, for real. So, and
yeah,
another one.
Blood, Sweat, and Pickles. Good choice. Good choice. I like
Number-
his Blizzard book this year too. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I
continue.
did. No, you're right. Play Nice is so good. Go listen to Play Nice right now. Listeners, do it. BoJack Horseman season 6. I have a weird palette that just craves like this like real like honest truth like animation and like storytelling, and you're gonna see that in my top 10 as well. You're gonna see something similar to that. But like BoJack Horseman, it's not just about like the sadness of like a man who a sociopathic like depressed man who went through a lot of trauma. It's also a beautiful like medium and space for artists to blend in their own like personal stories with motherhood, abortions, and just also like even like what was it? It was a miscarriage. Like a character goes through several of them, and even has to settle with like, hey, I can't have a child. I need a dog. It's serious.
That really is one of the best written and like most heartbreaking shows I've ever watched.
I got
like that show is gonna stay with me.
Literally,
sure.
and like each season has its own like focus. Like they even have a rule for the writers where they can't drop the F-bomb at least once. They get to do it once per season, and it needs to be directed towards BoJack in a way it's like they do irreparable damage between the relationship. So don't look at BoJack Horseman as just a sad show that's going to tear down your mood. Look at it and just appreciate the comedy that comes from it, but also all the themes, all the stories it has to tell from every person who's worked on the show and the people that they've met in their personal lives. They want to bring into the show. It's beautiful. I have the art book right now in like my stand. And I love like flipping through it sometimes because it's so interesting. And Aaron Paul as Todd is so funny. I love him. Love BoJack Horseman. You're gonna love the second to last episode, the final season.
Yeah, I mean, if I watched that last year, that'd be my number one too. Like it really is. It's crazy. Yeah,
pure art. That's it.
Cool. I will do a quick cheat and say a very close number 4 for me was X-Men 97, which is incredible. So there you go.
That's cool.
Yep. Very cool. All right. We are on to our last category before we hit our top 10.
Oh,
y'all ready?
Okay.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right. This category is just named Added to the Backlog. And so I just asked you guys, what are 2 games you did not get to play this year that you may want to come back to later? Colton, just real quick, you can list them out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be because for some stupid reason I have not played the Alan Wake DLC.
Oh,
that is on my backlog. With how much I loved Alan Wake, I should have done it, but like I said, this year it was a weird year. And then also Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, because I know I would love that game.
I'm surprised you didn't play that one. Yeah,
I know. I am too.
Right when the pirate one's coming out now.
I know, and then I want to play the pirate one too, but I feel like I can't skip 2 of them.
That studio's crazy because that other one they just announced recently looks amazing too. That like sleeping dogs looking like combat thing. I forget what that one's called, but it looks good. So yeah, that studio, very cool. All right.
I don't think it had an official name. I think it was like a project name.
Okay. That yeah. Where did they announce that? What was that? What was that announced in?
Game Awards, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, Josh.
Okay, yeah, I missed out on Animal Well this year. I didn't get around to trying that one out. It looked really intriguing. I like puzzles. I like Metroidvanias now.
Yeah, it seems like you kind of game for sure.
But yeah, I wasn't in the right mindset at any point to really dive into that. So just I'll get to it when I do. I'll probably enjoy it. But if I don't, I'll probably mention it.
Yeah.
Um,
I couldn't get into it, but that's not my type of game. So
okay, for sure. But
yeah,
you like
yeah.
Metroidvanias, so
I do. I do.
You don't like the
It's goated.
puzzly, like
Yeah, get me through that
fez.
next door, dude. I wanna slap a missile into a door.
Right.
Metroid Brainias, yeah.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Did you make that up?
No, I can't. I actually saw like a video about it. Like,
Oh,
what do you call this kind
That's
of
really
game?
that's
funny.
funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right.
My other choice is a weird one. Um, it's Star Wars Outlaws. I don't
Oh.
think this game's gonna be great, but
Oh.
I think when I get to it, I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah.
They've like overhauled the stealth to where there's not like instant stealth like fails and stuff. So they've done a lot of
Yeah,
like gameplay
I
stuff
don't
to
know
this.
if I actually like that,
So,
but that's a whole other like story. But
oh,
I think in general, I that game looks like something I would have fun with, even if it's not 10 out of 10.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ubisoft.
You're just there for
forward
the
to it.
Star Wars feel.
Ubisoft wished you would have fun with it.
Well, as soon as they mark it down to like
They're going
$20,
bankrupt.
then I'll have
It's
fun
cool.
with it.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Oh man. Oh man.
Yep.
All right.
That's it.
Cool. So yeah, my top two that I need to get around to. This one's interesting because I'm not 100% that sure that I would love it just for the reasons I just gave Josh about Animal Well, but that is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes,
Ooh.
which
Ooh.
I really like this studio's first game, which was more like a rhythm game with like really cool visual art style, and I really like the way this game looks. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's my vibe. It's very vibey. I'm just not 100% sure that I'll get to the game and be like, oh, I don't want to do this. So I'm hesitant, but it is a game I want to at least try. So that is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and then number one
Nice.
is Dragon Age of Veilguard, which I did not even touch or buy.
That's a good choice. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So I love Dragon Age 1 and 2. Even though they're
Me
very
too.
different. I did not enjoy Inquisition for its open world design. It like I said, it came out like literal months before like The Witcher 3 and like Metal Gear Solid 5, like open world games that changed what open world games were becoming. As well as Breath of the Wild. So it just came out at a weird time, and yeah,
Yeah.
did not like it. So the Veilguard looks like something I would be a little more into. So I will buy it again, like you said, when it goes on sale or something. It'll happen. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my top two. Isaiah.
I advocate for this game pretty hard when I initially played a demo, so I'm gonna say 9's for number 2. I have nothing else to say, but Nine Souls is like a game that I should be playing right now. But I've only touched like probably like 3 hours of it. So
Same.
next one, Prince of Persia. Dude, I just got this for Christmas. I'm so upset. I know this game is gonna be amazing. I love Metroidvanias. Whoa, words. Hello, Metroidvanias like Hollow Knight, like Animal Well, and also just Super Metroid itself. I freaking love it. So Prince of Persia looks right up my alley. So I'm excited to get into that.
Cool. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Cool. You can fix the capitalization on that. I'll go CD on that. All right. And I think that does it for our categories into our top 10. So question for you guys, do we want to just go into the top 5 or do we want to just do we want to take a break here?
Do we
Top
want to go to the
5.
top 5?
But we'll be quick
only
about
do the
it.
top 5?
Only. Oh yeah, like top 10 through 5.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if
I'm
we
so
get through
confused.
it fast enough, listeners, you'll know. If we broke this episode in 2, it means we went way too long somewhere. If I feel like we can just get it done in a single episode, then you'll know. So, all right, let's just get into it then. Colton, I know before we started recording, you said you'd been saying this has been kind of a weird year. So we're gonna have you start,
Yeah.
but you can kind of let us know what your year was like.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was a weird year. I feel like it was just kind of stressful and had some stuff going on. I just didn't play. I didn't feel like I wanted to play a whole lot of, like, I guess newer games. I played a lot of comfort games this year. I mean, that's why I got back into The Witcher 3. I played a lot of like, Rocket League and stuff like that. And Freaking Stardew Valley. You know, for some reason this year, I just, you know, we were kind of busy. Victoria starting a new job. It was kind of stressful for both of us, and now, you know, I'm taking some classes, some college classes, so I don't even know how much time I'll have over the next semester. You know, so we'll see how this year goes. But last year was just weird, so be prepared for I guess not very great list, I guess.
A general top of the five
Yeah.
list there. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
so really the top
Underst-
five, the top
Understandable.
5 of my top 10 are really the games that I actually felt pretty strongly about. The other ones, I just, you know, they're on the top 10 just because I played them, and I didn't play that many new games this year. But I will start with number 10. I feel like I guess I do have to put it on the list because I did put some hours into it, like I do every year, if that gives you a hint, and that is Fortnite. So, you know, I like, you know, I've never been too much of a critic of Fortnite. I kind of like whenever they change it up a lot. You know, it might piss some people off. I might not like some of the changes all the time, but I feel like whenever they change it up, I'm like, oh, cool. So, you know, the game will feel different for like 3 or 4 months until they change it back to something else. You know, so I had quite a bit of fun with Fortnite this year. So that's my number 10.
Cool. Josh?
My number 10 is a game called I Am Your Beast.
Hmm.
This is a really small, like, single player, almost arena shooter, I guess. I don't know, like puzzle shooter. You're trying to find your path through the level as quick as you can. The I've heard that like other people say the shooting was like really like fun, but it's really basic. This is a small indie team. I'm not sure how big exactly, but I know they're fairly small. But they managed to pull off such style and like make you feel like you're this badass assassin. Um, this game is really fun. It's pretty short, and I didn't want to put it down. Like it was just like click, 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 headshot, 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 move on to the next level. And the story and the voice acting really brings you into the characters in the story. It's not a super in-depth story, but it gives you something to push through the levels even if you don't need that extra motivation. It's really interesting.
Is
I
this like
recommend this.
a like time attack based, kind of like Neon White sort of thing, where you're
Yeah, I
trying to
guess you
like make
could.
lanes and
Yeah, you
keep
could
moving?
relate it to Neon White. Neon White's more about platforming. This one is pretty focused on shooting. Just
Okay,
kill as
cool.
fast as you can. And you can
Yeah,
get kind of creative, but I would say Neon White is a little bit more open-ended, at least on the jump. But
sure, sure.
this one feels maybe more aggressive on the time attack from the get-go. You're just like, I gotta get faster. I was like, I gotta get S rank. So yeah, just it's really good. Number 10, I Am Your Beast.
Cool. All right. My turn. I definitely just pasted mine in there for a second. All
I
right. So
missed it.
my top 10, my number 10. Yeah, I'm just gonna go through my top 10 now, guys. That's cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Get all those bad games out of the way.
Oh, how dare you? All right. Number 10 for me is UFO 50, which conceptually is one of the cooler ideas I've seen in a game in like a very long time. What UFO 50 is it is who's heading it the developer heading it up is Derek Yu, the creator of Spelunky.
Mhm.
Him and friends made 50 games in the style of an NES game. And what the UFO 50 is there is conceptually, this is a console that came out in the 80s called UFO 50, and they released 50 first party games. And so what UFO 50 is you can play these games on this platform, and each game has like little developer notes that says about like, oh, like this person created this game in the company because it reminded him of his dog, you know, or something. But they're all
Mhm.
fully fleshed games, and what you can do is you can play it by chronological release, and you'll see like mechanically each game will get a little more as the developers got like more familiar with the hardware. All of a sudden, there's like scrolling where before it was just like single screen games. And so it's just like a big love letter to the original Nintendo. And you know, a lot of these games couldn't have been done on an actual NES, so it's not quite at that level. But they kind of like picked what the UFO 50 could do graphically and sound wise, and really stuck with it. And dude, there's everything from golf games to fighting games to like multiplayer versus games, to puzzle games to strategy games to RPGs. Craziest thing about it is there's sequels to their games within this game.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
crazy.
yeah, it goes so deep, and conceptually it goes so hard, and it's so much fun. Not every game is like a winner, you know.
Right.
But I have, they know it, so they give you like a favorites option. You can sort by like multiplayer, or sort by like what's your favorites. And it's so cool. It's so slick. It's a project that's been going on for like forever. And it's just on PC right now. I think if this is something that would be released on like a Switch or something, it'd be perfect there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That is a really
UFO
cool idea.
50 is such a cool thing, dude. I'm only through like half the games, which is probably why it's on my top 10, because I'm trying to go in chronological order. But yeah, just such a crazy idea, and just to see it in conception, and it's just so cool. I love it. I love it. So UFO 50, number
Hey,
10.
I just realized one of the characters in UFO 50, and he's in the bottom, like, I think he's in the bottom 10, I saw. The pink guy with, like, the big
Yep.
nose.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
their
he's a Spooky
mascot.
too.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
that's really cool.
It's wild. And there'll be characters within the other games that show up in later games and mechanics and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so cool. It's
It's like
so
a little
cool.
universe.
Yeah, I just like nerd out about like, yeah, it's almost like having like a console collection for a console that never existed. It's so cool. So UFO 50. All right, Isaiah, number 10.
You gotta start a year strong, man. Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC. Now I played the first batch. I played all the DLC, of course. But I think the Lake House takes the cake. It's a much more like it's much more at home with like the Alan Wake 2 like world building and like story, because it ties into it directly. It doesn't tell you that, but it does. And I just find the control like multiverse like remedy thing going on with Alan Wake and Control and all the games. I find it to be so fun and cool, because when you get Control a part of Alan Wake's like whole mess with like the lake house and stuff, it's so fun and at home to then realizing, oh, I'm playing an Alan Wake game, but at the end of the day, it's a Remedy game, and that means I'm also playing a Control game. That means you're gonna find those documents, you're gonna fight these monsters that are like super weird and artistic and like just different, and you're gonna be like just dealing with like all this funny, raunchy, like nasty behavior and like just overall drama that you would see in Control that fits well at home with this DLC. The whole idea is that like, hey, you are FBC agent told to come check out here at the lake house, and you're with a team. You get like obviously like severed from your team, and you have to find out, hey, what happened here, because there's two primary researchers that are doing their own projects, has an artist in captivity that essentially let loose this like artistic monster from paintings. It's like really cool, and like the first like 10 minutes, or like the first like 30 minutes as you're exploring before you hit down an elevator, you find out it kind of sets a tone of like the chemistry between the two researchers. It's a couple, they're married, and dude, it is so dramatic. There's a moment during like the like the live action like cutscene where they use the actors. There's a moment where like the wife is like so upset and like pissy, and like rightfully so. But like at some point she's like, "Are you effing?" And then like she gets cut off with a funny voiceover like, "Well, thank you, so and so. That was a great point. We hope you enjoy your time here at the FBC. Yada yada. Goodbye." And in the video, do you see them like fighting, like verbally? It's fun, it's cool, and it reminded me how much I loved Control when playing it earlier in the year. I was just like, this is nice. So yeah, Alan Wake 2 Lake House DLC. It's a good one. It's cool. I've kind of sad I got like a lower rating on credit, but what can you do? It's whatever.
Fun fact, that was the first thing I played on my PS5 Pro. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, that's our number 10s. Already pretty strong. I like these picks. All right, Colton, number 9.
All right, get ready for another boring pick. It's Rocket League, baby.
We love.
I really, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what it is about that game. It's just like the perfect game. I'm gonna put so many hours into that game every year. And like I said, if I played a bunch of new games, I probably wouldn't put it on the list just because there's nothing new to it. But it's so good that I felt like it had to make this list since I was kind of begging for games to put on this list. So yeah, Rocket League is still, it's still one of the best games ever made. It's great, it's great to play casually. It's great to play really serious whenever I'm in that mood. So number 9.
Classic.
Glad you ranked it above Fortnite.
Hey, Fortnite has
mean-
Hatsune Miku.
Oh, he does have a point. You mean there's not like a hat with just like 2 strands of green hair in Rocket League? They haven't done that yet? That's crazy.
Oh,
all right.
actually,
They will.
They did.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I'd be very surprised if there wasn't.
All right.
Oh, it's literally happening.
We're ruining Josh's day.
That's really funny. All right,
moving on.
Josh, number 9.
Okay, I'm actually not going to speak too much on this one. I think the only new multiplayer game I played, at least with another person, and that is Helldivers 2.
Yeah. Sick.
It was fun and good, and I hope to keep playing it.
Which we need to do.
We do need to do. I think I'm level like 13, so I'm not very far, but I enjoy it. I played with some strangers online. They always quit right after. It's a little disheartening, but
yeah, it's I mean, just like any other game, it really can be kind of 50-50 playing with random
hit or
people.
miss with other people. But you know what? Playing with friends is a blast. So yeah, that's why it made my list.
Sweet.
That's all. Moving on.
Cool. Helldivers 2. All right. Mine number 9 is Neva.
Oh.
And this is that same studio that made the game Grease. And so what I would say about Neva is it's definitely less of a puzzle game and more of a little bit more of like an action platformer, which is already a little more up my alley as much as I loved Grease. And I don't say this lightly, Neva might be one of the most like artistically beautiful games I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
It's like incredible looking. Like if I was just going on visuals, like out of all the games on my list, I would say Neva is like number 1. It's so good. It's so beautiful. The scale of everything when they do those crazy pan outs. Neva, you're a lady who has a wolf cub and you guys are going on this weird journey where the earth is getting infected and so it's already pulling heartstrings. You kind of know it's going to happen, but that's kind of the point of the story too.
Oh, very like inside looking kind of.
Oh yeah. So
like
I will point out one particular level which they didn't show in any trailers or anything, and it's a big change from what happened in the game, and it is visually crazy looking. I will say this, and I say this a lot, specifically playing it on my OLED because it's very contrasty. That the level I'm talking about, a lot of reds, a lot of blacks. It is just eye-poppingly cool and crazy, and it's Neva's a great game. It's like 3 hours long. I suggest if you just want to play a new game and get it done in like a single session, kind of like we did with Brothers, it's great. I really like that team. They make very pretty art. So, yep, that's Neva. All right, Izzy.
We talked about how, making a good platform fighting game isn't necessarily an easy thing. I did not say that, but like it is factually just not an easy thing to do, to try and copy or even like meet the match, the godness of Smash Brothers. Rouse Ether, though, it's pretty close. I love the first game so much. I clocked in about 100 hours in that game. And Rouse Ether 2, the squeakle, it's great. I love it. I love my time playing, changing my main from my awesome rat like Ryu main to the heavier, stockier, but cooler. What's his name? Oh god, I forgot his name. He's a guy who has a sonic spin dash and like can throw rocks at you, and his entire recovery is like uprising a giant pillar of rock, and you can just stand on it and combo with it. Like if you were like literally like right below me, I up B, you come up to me, I up smash you, you're out of here. Goodbye. I call it the elevator. It's so cool. It adds new mechanics that the first one didn't have. It still keeps the parry, but it adds shields. It has ledges now. Because it has ledges now, they do change the recovery up a little bit. If you know, you know. You don't worry about it. And obviously, it's in 3D and it looks good. We just recently got an update for another character. What's his name? Everyone's name is blanking on me. Here he is, Ellis, and he's so cool. His whole thing is ice, and he can like coat himself in ice with his own ice that he can create. And he has an up attack during in the air that literally dunks you. I can literally command grab you with an up attack and dunk you into a blast zone if you're high enough percent. Dude, that's so freaking cool. But the one thing that I will say, I don't like the meta or just like how competitive Rise of Ether has always been in terms of like kind of matching the melee feel. That's cool. It feels great to like win. To was it air dash? What is it? Wave dash.
Wave dash.
Wave dash. There it is. And there's like other things, mechanics like that. But holding, okay, when I attack you, I expect you to get away from me. I expect you to like get blast away. Right? If the best way to counter that is to hold down the stick while you're on the ground, I'm attacking you, and you just immediately recover and attack me next, that's kind of dumb. But beyond that, I haven't really put much time into it. I plan on to doing it, but Rise of Ether 2, for what it is, when I haven't played a bit online and offline, it's still Rise of Ether. I still really enjoy it, and I still like cannot wait to see more from this game and it do successfully. I want this game to perform because it actually is a good game on the surface by the core mechanics. Sorry.
All right. There you go. Number 8. Rise of Ether 2. Very nice. All right, Colton, number 8.
All right, my number 8 is a game we all played. It was Your Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
Nice.
That is a game that I did want to play for a long time, never got around to it, and this was the perfect opportunity. I did have, I know I said it in the episode we had about it, I did have some troubles with the way it ran, but I think because I tried, I felt like I tried everything, but I just couldn't get it to run very well. I have a little makeshift Frankenstein PC, and I know that. So I wasn't trying to expect a whole lot, but there were times that I felt like it was just hard to play, just because of the frame rate that I got out of it. But I was able to look past it, and I did have a really good time with it. I loved the story. I loved the way the game looked and everything. So it made it to number 8 for me.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Josh, number 8.
Oh boy. My number 8 is Stellar Blade. I talked about the music earlier. Very good music. As far as the gameplay goes,
Trash.
It's really good.
Okay.
So I was complaining about Warhammer.
It is in the list.
And the way that the combat feels, where it's kind of like you want to feel the impact of the hits. This game does it right. Like I don't know. It's like there's a lot of like gross creatures that you get to stab in the face and make pretty combos and stuff and flashing around the screen with your sword dance, and it's so good. It's what I wanted. Like I think they pulled off something that like Platinum Games does really well, and I think I'm not the expert on this, Troy, but I think they went for that, and I think they found something new there. And I really,
they managed to like make a Souls game feel arcadey, but not like still make the hits and the parries and dodges feel like weighty. It feels like a hard balance.
I guess that's what it is that they're not just copying Nier. They got a lot of the aesthetic and the music and stuff, sure, but the game design, I think they pulled from a lot of really, really good places. Souls games being one of them, and other people have mentioned that I've heard like Sekiro. I still have yet to play through Sekiro, but the counter system and stuff is really cool. You get these like I love games when you can like hold the bumper and then press a face button. That might sound stupid, but
No, I get it. It's like
I love I
to
love
trigger
that.
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a better version of an ability or like a special move. I love that stuff. And this game has several of those, and you get to like skill tree level ups and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting that in the game. Very cool.
Very cool.
I still haven't finished it, but I don't care about the story at all, and I don't think I need to. The gameplay is just fun. It's very fun. Um, but I understand why it's kind of off-putting at the same time. So my number 8 Stellar Blade, play it if you want. It's good.
Cool. Nice. Stellar Blade number 8. All right. My number 8 is Black Myth Wukong.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So Black Myth Wukong, on its face, it definitely, it's a game that they've shown for like forever. It seemed like a game that was like never going to come out because it just looked like crazy. But it finally came out. Uh, runs like crap on the PS5. That might have been an issue.
Oh,
But I kind of fought through that. But the cool thing about Black Myth Wukong is it probably has the single most amount of like different enemies and enemy designs in a single like Souls-like action game I've ever seen. Like every area is packed to the brim with like really different cool monsters. They're really fun to fight, and it's a very different feeling Souls game. I almost hesitate to even call it a Souls game, but at the end of the day, it is. But it really doesn't. It's like a meter building game. So you're not like parrying is not the main like mechanic, dodging's not the main mechanic, not even just like, oh, I'm gonna hit you like a character action game. It's really about like choosing when to make your strong attacks, and you have to build up to those strong attacks. So it's about like memorizing boss patterns, and then like figuring out, okay, when can I like successfully pull this off and not get punished for it. And
Right.
that's a really fun dance. Black Myth Wukong, when I say the amount of characters, I also mean the amount of bosses. A lot of people I've heard describe this game as a boss rush because the level design is there and it's good, but it's not quite as dense as like an Elden Ring or a Souls game or
Right.
something like that. And it is very combat oriented. But there's some really good. It's a really good looking game. Um, Mechanically, it's very satisfying. Although I think there's a couple bosses and a couple things that make the like hit detection isn't like quite there. So it kind of felt at certain points as like, oh, this isn't quite as polished as I'd want it to be. But that never stopped me from having fun. Aside for like 3 bosses, which really need to overhaul, like really, including the last boss. But at the end of every chapter, you go to a new area because this isn't like an open world game. There are like clear chapter ends. Um, they have like they hired different studios to do like cool animations to do more like explain backstory on the different characters and the bosses you fought in that chapter, and they range from anything from like I think I said this earlier, from like stop motion to different art styles, and all the music videos are just like freaking fantastic, really good music. It did win my favorite music of the year category for a reason. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool, good things about Black Myth Wukong. I think just a few like gameplay things kind of hold it back. But speaking of being able to like hold a bumper and do things, there's some really cool magic you can do where you can freeze people in place. You can like become stone and they hit you, and it's a good parry. You can like make 20 copies of yourself. Like there's you can change into different boss characters you beat for like a certain amount of times, and that's a whole strategy. So it's actually a lot deeper than you would think too, mechanically. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Black Myth Wukong is really good. So yeah, that's my number 8.
That's cool.
All right.
Before I tell you mine, I just want to say I touch grass. I have friend groups I actively hang out with.
What's that
And
like?
I play D&D with them. I have a job. I want to let you know I'm healthy. I'm good, right? I played a game called Miside, Miside. I know what you're gonna say when you first look at it on Steam. It's an anime weeb ass game with these like with a cute girl, and thinking like, what the hell is this? What is this? Is this a what's it called? what's the word called, Troy? What's like the anime thing? Visual novel. There it is. It's not that. It's actually a psychological horror game with story-rich elements. It's great. I played it. I binged it. 4 hours. My friend came over. It was like it was just for fun. I pulled up my TV, started playing it. This game is just generally about, hey, you have a you have a video game on your phone. You talk to your little AI girlfriend, and she's like, "I want you to be here." And so you literally get transported into the game, isekai style, legit, and things kind of go south, and now this girl's gonna kill you. So in this game there are different metas that you come across through different versions of the game. So you start from the very latest version of the game, and you're trying to make it back to the very first release of the game. And through each version you jump through, you meet different metas, different game mechanics get thrown at you, and different horror elements get thrown at you. And dude, I really appreciate this game really for the world, because it actually is kind of smartly built. There's a moment in the game about halfway through where you meet a meta. The way you open it, or the way you walk into this version, you find out it's very dark. All right, it's really dark. Let me look at the ground because that's where all my light is. And you notice you're passing by all these metas, and these like robots are just standing still. And I'm thinking in my head, like, oh my god, it's gonna be like a angel of death kind of thing, or like this Doctor Who element where it's like they look at you, and like you can't see
angels.
them. Yeah, angel. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. It was that later on, but what was really cool is that like it was all like a adding to the world and the lore of it, where it's like, oh no, actually, hey, there's a real meta in this version. They take you to a side and he's like, hey, so let me run you by, and they give you an option to do it too. Do you want to learn how like the world works? And it run you by here's how the versions are connected, here's how metas can go through them, and here is how like they're made. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I really like this game for like the variety of different medias and their personalities, the different gameplay moments. There's even a moment where it's like, oh, it's an actual visual novel and like a life sim and so on and so forth. But I was really, really into it because like I just find the world of it just so captivating, because it's actually like thoughtful and
dude, this game looks rad. What
yeah.
MISIDE. Am I on the right game?
Yep. Yeah. It's cute.
Yeah. It sounds kind of like a Doki Doki Literature Club-ish.
Yes, it is. It's a lot. Okay, maybe lesser on the suicide themes, but definitely more on the depression side.
All right.
Go check it out. It's cool. I actually quite enjoy this game.
No, this looks cool. Okay. This is going on my list. This is cool. Okay. Cool. No, that's awesome. All right. All right.
Let's see.
Colton, number 7.
Number 7 for me is a game I played mainly with my brother Dakota and a little bit with my uncle David. I didn't play a whole lot with anyone else, but it is Lockdown Protocol. Not much to say about it, but it was, it was fun. It was like so it's like Among Us. My biggest problem with Among Us is I feel like I get bored very quickly. I just can't do it. Like when I'm playing Among Us, I'm looking for like ways to play the game wrong, just to kind of entertain myself a little bit. But Lockdown Protocol, it kind of lets me do that in a more fun way, and I feel like in a way that whenever I get caught playing the game wrong, none of the people care too much. It had like this effect where like my brother would get on and jump into a lobby and would jump in with like 8 other people, and I don't know. I can't think of another game where like this would happen like every time, but this happened every time. We'd jump in a lobby, we'd get the lobby full of people, and I mean, not a single person would leave for like hours. Like we would start to get to like know each other really well. Like we'd get to know like how one of us are gonna play. So like we can start anticipating somebody's moves because we played like 2 hours with this person. So I had quite a bit of fun with it. All of the lying that you have to do to keep that game, just to like play the game the way it's supposed to be played. And I feel like when we're playing something like Among Us, like you have, chores you have to go do. They're like the most boring stuff. And like, there's really nothing to them. Like this, like you're trying to figure out who's the imposter, but you also have like 5 things around the ship you need to do. And one of the things might be like, you have to you have to go solve this problem with these like with this air pressure, like something to do with like the pressure tanks in the ship. So you have a bunch of different colored pipes and they all have different values. You have to put them in the machine, and then you have to go to the other side of the wall to test it. And if you didn't get the I don't know, if you didn't get like all the numbers right, it would blow up and you can accidentally kill somebody if they're standing in front of it, or you can purposely plan that if you're the killer, but you can just claim that you were trying to fix the pipes. And, and like the chores in the game also make it a lot more fun. And
what's it called again?
Lockdown Protocol.
Lockdown Protocol. Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It really is Among Us, just a little bit more in depth when it comes to the gameplay. And there's guns, and the guns are pretty funny too. Like imagine like working for like 20 minutes trying to figure out, and then that person next to you just pulls out a shotgun and just kills you. It's fun every time. So it's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, number 7.
Number 7. Okay. This is a little card game called Balatro.
Never heard of it.
Whoa.
Never.
I know, surprising. I really like, actual card games. So I was a big fan of the card aspect right off the bat. But
Goldfish.
I was a little iffy about the poker theming. I was like, okay, that's probably the most boring thing you could theme a card game is just cards. But I really like Slay the Spire, like, so you throw some swords and magic in there, I'm all in. But Balatro was like, no, just more jokers. We have more jokers than a normal deck of cards. I'm like, okay, I guess you got me. No, as soon as I open this game and like the music starts and as soon as you realize like what they're trying to get you to do to get your combos going, like this game just it doesn't let go. You're like, okay, like it keeps you engaged. You want to even when you fail, you're like, okay, I could have done that a lot better if I'd had this combo. If I would have bought this type of tarot card, I think they're called in the game.
Yes.
Yeah, they have several different paths to kind of advance your deck, and very surprising for such a boring concept out the get go. It's like, oh, okay, I know what a full house is, but that doesn't sound like a fun video game idea. But yeah, I give it up to Balatro. It's fantastic. I wish I would put more time into it. I'm probably on the lower end of people who really like this game, but it's so enjoyable. Anytime I don't know what to play, I toss it up for at least like 15, 20 minutes.
It's perfect for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it lets you like sign out and come back in, and you can still play like where you left off.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It never drops off what you were doing.
Yeah,
like no matter great. It's great. It's wonderful.
It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's like Kingdom Hearts Retrain Memories, though.
It's like this year's Vampire Survivors. No,
that's also a card game.
All right, my number 7 is a little game called Metaphor Refantasio.
Oh, whoa, number 7?
Number 7.
That's crazy. I thought this would be higher.
Yeah. Wow. Not to say I didn't like it. Again, I played a lot of games.
Yeah, you hated it. Number 7. Oh,
I get it. I like Persona 4 Golden. Like I haven't thought about it in a while, but it's been my like number 1 game ever for a long time. So I get it. I like Persona. But Metaphor Refantasio, what's great about it? Obviously the art style is so good. Persona game, I call it a Persona game, and that should tell you a lot about Metaphor Refantasio. But a Persona game lives and dies by its cast. And I think they made a really cool, diverse, fun cast. And the thing I like most about Metaphor Refantasio is the way it took everything Persona and really, they didn't simplify it. They more focused it in a way I really enjoyed. The way like the social links work, the way combat works is amazing. So they in just like a few seconds, how would I explain like combat? I would say they threw in a job system into a Persona game, which is really awesome. Like the way you're not juggling like hundreds of different personas. You're more juggling, hey, what jobs and what abilities, and then you can start like ability mashing once you've used an ability long enough. So you can do all these like hybrid classes. It's really strategic. It's really fun. So and any character can have any job from like pretty much the get-go. So it gives you a lot of flexibility on how you want to handle fights. And there are definitely certain jobs that are really effective against certain bosses and enemies. And it's good about nudging you, but it also lets you experiment. So the combat is great. It's really fluid. It's really fast. They had the music, the battle theme, where they just hired a literal monk to rap into a mic over
So cool.
like an orchestra. It's close, maybe the second best track this year. So yeah, it's amazing. The the only thing that maybe I wasn't expecting was for it to be as familiar as I felt it was, like it truly is like a fantasy Persona game, which gives it all its strengths and maybe a little bit of its weaknesses, whereas I wasn't quite as surprised as I thought I'd be. You're kind of getting what you're wanting. And I think like the way you travel around the world map is really like clever and good. Um, and so there are like weird different little things in it that are like, oh, that's surprising, or like, oh, that's a little deeper than I thought it would be. But yeah, I mean, really, where it succeeds is its cast of characters, like whether it's your main party or the social links, which is like critical for a game like this, and its overall story, its villain, the art style is amazing. Like there's some really striking things happening on screen. A lot of times, a lot of the anime cutscenes are just like great, as you would have thought. Yeah, Metaphor Fantasio, I highly recommend if you are down with a JRPG and don't have a persona that you're already lining up. You have a question?
Yeah. So this is the game that every Alice fan has been waiting for because they kind of teased it a while back, I think. And they
long time ago.
We heard nothing about it. And now it's here in your hands. You played it and you have number 7. Do you think that was kind of worth the time? Like this is a new IP from Atlas. Do you feel like, oh yeah, this was worth that wait?
Yeah, if you were looking for like a fantasy Persona game and that's exactly what you wanted, you are getting exactly what you wanted in a really good way. I mean, there's some really good social link stories that are really affecting and fun. The writing's really fun. It's funny. Like there's a lot of really good like funny moments between the characters, so it's not like as self-serious as maybe it looks from like the marketing and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what you think it is what it is, and that's great. But it's also maybe didn't climb higher on my list because I wasn't as like surprised by it as I was with other listings on my list.
That's my thing. Yeah. I was surprised to see how familiar it felt too when I saw like the marketing and everything for it. I was like, wait a minute, like this is just more Atlas, which is good. It's great, right? Yeah. I'm excited to get into this at some point. But
even the real time combat, like isn't as, I mean, it's kind of just an expanded way you get like the jump on an enemy. Like in 5, where obviously if you sneak attack, you get first attack.
Oh yeah.
You get actual overworld combat where you can dodge and hit and stuff, but that really only affects it if you're like above a certain level where you can actually like kill them that way. Otherwise, you are doing like turn-based combat. So it's not as like big a departure as it looked or may have looked. But again, I love the game. The story is awesome. There's some really, really great characters. The soundtrack is, it's really good. It's the same team that makes all those games, and they just can't miss. I don't know what to say. They're all really good, and they spend a lot of time on them. So, all right, cool. Number 7, Isaiah.
Let's rock. It's Guilty Gear Strive. Now, this is an ongoing game that's constantly getting updates, new characters, and patches. And the reason why I put this on number 7 is because I adore complex and rich lore and world building in any of my fighting games or any game ever. Yes, Kingdom Hearts is my favorite games ever, right? And what's that story look like? It's not as complicated as like some others, but still, like it's complicated. Final Fantasy, complicated. Guilty Gear Strive is crazy. Now, okay, in terms of gameplay, I'm putting it here because of Abba. Abba and Paracelsus are my OTP, my babies. I love them. I want to squish them in a ball. They're so cool. You have a combined character that's the slowest in the game in her base form. Get a few hits in, jealousy rage, snap. You are the fastest and most aggressive character in the game, and you will shred anything that comes in your way. It's so good. I love it, but I also hate it. Because in a normal fighting game or in any other character you play as that's more all around, like, Kai Kisk or Soul Bad Guy, or even Ramlethal Valentine, you would have an even ground advantage in neutral. You have a neutral like stand against the fighter. When that says let's rock, when the round starts and you're Abba, two things gonna happen. You're getting your shit kicked immediately, or you're kicking their shit. Yes, you can block and jump, but I'm gonna be so real with you. I'm gonna try and hit you as fast as I can, and you're probably gonna outbeat my attack. But it's still fun. It's still fun. Very high risk, very high reward. You have to play smart. It's a resource character, so that jealousy rage I'm mentioning, it's a resource that dwindles by a bar. So you can get out of it by literally taking it off, or go back into it immediately after. And there's just combos that work around that, and you can have as much fun with it. But man, that gameplay and getting into tournaments online PlayStation and try and go for those profile pictures is so fun. I'm a buy on Switch again. I love Guilty Gear Strive. Sorry, let me slow down. I love Guilty Gear Strive. I love ABBA. But dude, if you want to get deeper in this rabbit hole, you want to see how far this goes, look up a lore YouTube video and sit down and watch all of it. I'm so serious. It gets crazy, and it's also genuinely captivating. It's so good. Oh, and ABBA is like a legit favorite in the fandom. Everyone loves her. Everyone's so excited to get more merch of her. You got plushie now. It's great. Yeah, Guilty Gear Strive, ABBA update, perfect. It's awesome.
All right. So before we go into number 6, we are going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. And we're back. All right, Colton, what's your number 6?
All right, number 6, a game very near and dear to my heart. If you might recall from the episode, The Games That Made Us, this was a game that meant a lot to me growing up. And I waited very long for the remake as I did, and it is Age of Mythology Retold. Now, I didn't play as much of this as I wanted to, but I did put quite a bit of time in it just to replay the campaign on that game, because that campaign is just, in my mind, it's just one of my favorite campaigns ever. Just starting as an Atlantean who gets blessed by Poseidon, and then there's an upcoming war between Kronos, and he's trying to free the Titans, and you have to try to help other nations and other people who are worshiping different gods, and try to work together against Kronos' army. And you go to Hades at one point, and you stop him from opening the gate there, and I don't know, it's just great. I have a lot of good memories. Have a lot of good memories playing multiplayer too. I didn't do that as much as I wanted to, because my uncle is also huge Age of Mythology fan, and we played together a lot growing up. We haven't really linked up and played the new one multiplayer a lot like we wanted to. I think we both just got distracted, but I'm sure we're going to be doing that at some point this year. But so really, this is just campaign and a couple just not online little skirmishes against PCs, but I love those games. I've always loved Age of Empires, but for some reason just the mythology aspect has always made Age of Mythology that's the one I think of when I think of that era of gaming. So I was really excited for this one. There are a couple things that more people, I feel like a lot of people got more bad about than I did, for sure, because I still look back at the game pretty positively. So that is my number 6.
Cool. Yeah, I need to download that and give it a go. All right, Josh, number 6.
My number 6 is Kunitsigami. Kunitsigami,
yes. Good
Path
luck.
of the Goddess.
All right, you did it.
Woo! No, I practiced that in my head like 10 times. I couldn't get it right.
Capcom's Kunitsuga.
This game is really cool. There's a lot of games set in Japan these days. I mean, I guess there always has been, but in this era of Japan, this one though, it focuses on like the mystical, magical elements, with like yokai and the extreme focus is on the I don't what would is it like a priestess? Oh man, I don't remember.
Yeah.
The girl that you're having to kind of like protect and you're traveling with. It's so such a unique game. Maybe that's why it's this high on my list. I think it doesn't do a whole lot of new things mechanically. It just kind of rearranges things that you may have played, 10, 20 years ago, in an interesting way. I think they could have gone deeper on a lot of the strategy elements. If you don't know what this is, it's kind of like a uh,
It's a
tower
tower
defense
defense
game.
for
Yeah,
sure.
but
Yeah.
you're also pushing like your unit forward. Uh, you're essentially kind of meeting in the middle at a gate every level. Maybe not every level, but there's some cool unique levels. This game's it's so cool. It's again it's unlike anything I've played. It's so hard to describe what makes it so interesting.
Yeah,
But
it's cool. It's like a real time, I would call it like a real time tower defense game where, you
yeah,
you do command units, you do take control of yourself, and you're trying to like, yeah, I know what you mean, but you're trying to
I
like guide another character through. So it's,
I
yeah,
guess the strange thing about this is though it's not focused as much on the tower defense as you think it's going to be when you
right.
start. And it's not really focused on the hack and slash of your characters. They try to like bring this balance between the two. I think they could go more in depth with both sides of that. But I kind of hope they make a sequel. I don't think they will. I think the team that made this just had a really creative idea, and I'm glad they stuck to it. It's worth trying out. It may not be for everybody, but I played this the whole way through, and I was sad when it was over. So
Yeah. Good
thumbs
on
up for me.
Capcom.
That
Good on
says something.
good on Capcom for letting them make that, because it like, I'm not like I'm not saying anything bad about it, but it is like a B game,
Yeah,
but like in
Yeah,
a good way, because it's
absolutely.
super experimental. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Um,
know we need to move on. But I want to just quickly
it
ask.
is on Game Pass too, so people want to
Oh,
try it and you're a subscriber. There you go.
does the game translate well, like what you're doing, what you're looking at and seeing? Because when I look at the gameplay, I'm like, I feel like I get overwhelmed by what I'm seeing because there's so much going on. I feel like.
I think it clears up pretty quickly once you understand what your units are. There's really not that much going on as it looks like if you like look up gameplay. You have your units.
Mm.
You're probably going to be looking at a dozen or less, and you will have a pretty good foundation of like understanding of like what each one does. So
The the art's
it's
really
more
cool, but like
Yeah, the
yeah.
art
It
is,
has a really cool look to it.
yeah, it kind of almost has some like Okami stuff in
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Is it the same team or a
I don't
similar
know.
team?
I have
Like
no idea,
I don't know.
actually. Working on Okami, literal Okami 2, which was just announced. Yeah, I don't
that's
know.
true. Yeah, yeah.
It could be. You know what? If someone told me that that's the team, the Path of the Goddess team went to Okami 2, I'd be like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Okay, that's cool.
It's a cool game. I put a few hours into it. Yeah, not nearly as deep as you did.
it's good.
All right, cool. So my number 6, I think this is the first time we are doubling up a game, which is kind of crazy because we've had a lot of games. Is Stellar Blade.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, Stellar Blade is my number 6. Everything Josh said is true. Like the way the combat feels, it just feels so good. It's arcadey, but it's impactful at the same time. Um, uh, and there are aspects of it that, like, oh, the music, the character design, just like, oh, this is very near. Like this is their inspiration. The thing that Stellar Blade doesn't do is that story is, I mean, Nier has the best uh story in a video game I've ever played. I will keep saying that because it's true. I'm talking about Gestalt and Replicant. So Nier does not it's not trying to go in that territory. Or sorry, Stellar Blade is not trying to compete in that territory. But what it does do really uniquely is it's just really fun to control. It's fun to look at. It runs great. It's almost like a junk food game is how I would describe it, but not in a bad way. It's a really good length. It's about like 22 hours, but it has some really fun bosses and bosses with like cool looking designs. Like all the designs of the enemy are really awesome. I think the outfits are fun. Uh, you know, even if some of them were like, okay, maybe I should just play the Infinity Nikki game because I like outfits.
Oh
So
yeah.
maybe that's what I'm telling
Well,
myself.
yeah, I wish
And
that
maybe
Infinity
those ones are a
Nikki.
little more appropriate. I don't know.
Oh, they absolutely are.
Yeah. So see, I sound way less pervy talking about Infinity Nikki than I do Stellar
Yeah,
Blade.
yeah.
But I mean, aesthetically, there's some really slick designs on like the weapons, the effects. That one level, Josh, where you're going up through that like crazy like cannon hallway thing, like in space. That whole space level is wild, where you're being shot up.
I
Um,
don't think I've got there yet.
oh, you're right. You haven't beat it. Okay,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
some
yeah.
cool stuff coming up that does that. It's just like really visually stunning.
I think I know what
The
you're talking
level,
about because I think they've hinted at that area.
yes,
But
there,
yeah.
dude. There's some crazy stuff that you go to in that game. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just really love it. It's really good. Um, it's just one of those games where I didn't feel there's just enough friction to make it like fun and somewhat challenging. I wouldn't say it's a hard game in like Souls terms, but there's just enough there to where like, oh, this is really satisfying, but I'm not having to like really think and push,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
kind of flows in a really great way. So Stellar Blade is an awesome game, and I do suggest you try the demo at least because there is a free demo. But yeah, Stellar Blade, it's very cool. Good music.
Yeah.
Sonic Cross Shadow Generations is like, oh my god, it's so freaking good. When you look at Sonic Frontiers, you can look at it and think there's a lot wrong with this game, but overall, you do feel like in comparative forces, yes. And it's not saying much for a lot of people, but for me, it is saying a lot. It's a step up. Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, specifically Shadow Generations, Shadow's own story, is such a nice focused game that takes some of the developers from the original Sonic Generations and the current Sonic team and give us like, here's a Sonic in a modern take where you have like Shadow his own story and revisiting his own past and seeing all these like things and like characters like Black Doom. Like, is it legit like a sequel to Shadow 05? Shadow the Hedgehog 05. Like it's legit just a sequel because you continue off of like that Shadow and that characters and like all that crap, and it's so good. You have like the linear like low design of Act 1 3D like remix of like old stages, like Rail Canyon, Kingdom Valley, which by the way, when people talk about Sonic 06 having potential and having like a light in the eye of it, and like there's something you can grab and like enjoy from it, the level design I think of that game is one of those things, and I think I think it's so correct to think the level design, if you did make Sonic 06 good, Kingdom Valley is a good example of that. And I think the way they bring it to this game is so freaking fun. And that's the one level in this game where it doesn't get interrupted by like a second half where like spirals into like Black Doom proportionally changing the environment into a radical highway like he does for other levels. So yeah, Act 1, 3 level, Act 2, 2D level, but it's actually fun. I feel like Sonic Frontiers and of course Sonic Forces were those games where like anytime it was 2D, I wanted to shoot my foot. I did not like it. The physics in this game, the way it feels, the levels, the collectibles, the grinding to 100% and the S ranking is all beautifully balanced and so much fun. And even Shadow Story, it takes itself seriously in a way it's like not super corny. It's Shadow the Hedgehog. You're gonna get the edge. You're gonna get like the more like Maria Robotnik, Black Doom, I'll come and get you kind of deal. Like or like he talks like the the alien or like freaking his brother essentially from Sonic Adventure 2, like that space alien. Troy, you know what I'm talking about? That lizard, the bio lizard.
Yes.
I'm bad with names today. But to say, he literally says, "You poor creature, I'll put you out of your misery." Like, you get that fun, you get that corn, you get it, and it still balances well enough with like when the game is serious, it's actually relatively paced well. Like, hey, a good example is like Donkey played this game. He really liked Frontiers. He looked at this game and he said, like, why is this game fun? Like, it really is a fun time. I've seen this on other people's top 10 critics and like 2024 games, and it's just so good to see like it do so well and perform well. The actual Sonic Generations portion is fine, by the way. It's good. It's always
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I wish I could just buy the Shadow portion because I'm not looking to play Sonic Generations again. But the Shadow
It's
stuff,
fair.
the levels look cool. So
It's not 3
Yeah.
hours, by the way. That's like a chunky. I spent 10 hours on that game. That was really fun.
cool. Yeah. No, it sounds perfect. So at some point I'll play it too. That's cool. All right, folks, we're there.
Okay.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Let's do it, Colton.
Okay, my number 5. I absolutely love this game from like the very first second, and it's a game I don't remember when they like announced it or like showed a little video of it, but it is, put it in right here. It is Tiny Glades. There is something I love. I mean, Tiny Glades is so great. Just just to be able to build like a little diorama, like a little like fantasy diorama, whether it could be like a cozy like village or like a ruined castle with like a moat around it or whatever. I mean, I put so many hours in that game, especially that first week it came out. That is all I did. It is one of the most relaxing games I think I've ever played. And I think it's amazing that almost anything you do in the game, like it just works. Like, oh, you want to put this type of building structure here, like it'll like almost every time it'll seamlessly like meld into what you've already built, and it will randomly generate things like, like if you put a door next to, on the side of a house, it'll like randomly generate like a rake leaning up against the wall with like a potted flower next to the next to the step or something. Like like everything just like works, and it's really, I feel like it's a really like clean, nice little sandbox diorama builder. And I can't wait for, just to see like what kind of updates, like what like little, and like I like the game so much that they add something like small, I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, I gotta go play like 5 hours of that. Like, oh, now you can, I don't even know, like now you could add something. Well, you can already add chimneys, but you know what I mean. Like I'm on the lookout for like little updates like that.
It's like a cozy game for builders,
Yes, it is, dude. And dude, all I want to do in games is build stuff, so it's like perfect for me. It's amazing.
Yeah, like Sam literally takes naps to like no commentary versions of Tiny Glade because it's pleasant to look at and listen to. So
Victoria got so tired of me. Like that first couple weeks, we would go to bed and I would put on like, I'm like, you know what? I need some ideas for my village I'm gonna make tomorrow. So I put on like a 2-hour no commentary video of somebody like building a giant castle. And like I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could shape the roof like that, And then I'm like taking notes in my head.
It's really cool to see how the system they have an engine that can like basically like figure out how do we mesh these two pieces together, even though they don't look like they would initially.
Yeah, and it runs well on like literally anything, which is like another techno. Yeah. It's very well engineered too, that engine. So it's impressive. It's like an impressive game, as well as just like a good cozy thing. So yeah, good for them for making just coming out of nowhere with that. So awesome. Josh, number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
Hey.
Why?
So yeah, this game's cool. I like puzzles. Puzzles are fun. This game brought me back to whenever I was younger and playing the Professor Layton games on the DS.
Oh.
There's just some like a little hint here and there of like little like brain teasers like that. Fun logic puzzles, but it's also there's a lot of interweaving puzzles where you like figure one thing out and then you go, oh, now I know what that was for. And that's just that's the whole game. It's extremely fun, and I think the storytelling is intriguing. I don't know if it was perfectly executed. That would be my one ding against it, but I like what they did with it, with the story they wanted to tell. Which I wasn't expecting. I just was like, oh yeah, puzzle games, cool, whatever. But it did string me along even whenever I was frustrated with extremely challenging puzzles or what I thought were extremely challenging puzzles. I will say the last your last kind of challenge is challenging. At least it was for me. So if you're interested, be prepared for that. But yeah, I like testing my brain sometimes, you know, taking a break from the hack and slashing of Stellar Blade and jumping into something where I can kind of I literally I know this is everyone talks about this game and they say they had to have a notebook. I went in knowing that, so I got my notebook ready before I sat down to
You
play it, and
prepared.
No,
I
I
had
want to play this game, Josh. Don't tell me that.
no, it was fun.
Ah,
No, like
oh, it looks so
no.
cool.
Okay, you know what I will say. You know what I will say. The game does a really good job of cataloging what you've learned.
Okay, okay.
So I don't think it like holds your hand, but it does give you access to what the information you need. If you really don't want to take notes, I think you're making it a little bit harder on yourself.
Right. Like
You
Fez. It's very Fez in that way, yeah.
yeah, I think you could get through it. I think every now and then you might just have to draw something out just to help yourself understand it.
Sure.
But maybe you don't have to take notes. You can just kind of when you need a piece of paper to solve a puzzle, you can get it out and do that.
Cool.
What do you want?
No, it's cool. It's such a striking art style too.
If you're not allergic to paper and pencil, play Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It's really good.
Yeah. Cool. All right, number 5. Ooh, this is going to be an interesting one to talk about. So my number 5 is Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon. And I know you guys are all keeping this on your radar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you may ask, what is that? So Tsukihime this is a remake of an old visual novel. Like Tsukihime is an OG visual novel, like one of the best, considered one of the earliest and one of the best in that genre. It is done by a company called Type Moon, which they do Fate Stay Night. They have a fighting game series based on the Tsukihime characters called
Yes.
Melty Blood,
Yes, I've
which is
seen
a
this.
PS2, PS3 action game. So those are all based off Tsukihime characters. But this year, Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon, is almost like a remake, remaster of that original game for modern audiences, I will say. So it is a visual novel. It took me about 50 hours to beat and to see all the endings. But what's really cool about Tsukihime, storyline wise, it's a lot of like modern day vampire high school mystery, like exorcism story. It's kind of insane. But what's really cool about it is there's so many different branching paths that can lead you to different choices and different scenes and different stories, that so many, in fact, that in the game there are 3 core endings, which are called routes. And within those routes, there are, I think, about 26 bad endings that you can get. And what's
Dang.
really cool about the bad and about the timeline is at any point you can go back to any point in the timeline and redo choices. And it's really good about telling you like what choices you did last time and like getting you back into that choice without having to rewatch a bunch of stuff, which is appreciated. But what's really fun about it is every time you get a bad choice, it gives you this little interlude where characters in the story will break the fourth wall and be like, you really screwed up. Where you might, like they're all joking around about what you did and why you did it. And it'll give you a little hint towards like what you should do to like fight this enemy, or like maybe you shouldn't have let this doctor inject this to you because, about like 15 decisions ago, I just, I died all of a sudden. I'm like, why did I die? And they did the little interlude. It's because I let someone inject something into me like literally 15 choices ago.
Dang.
And so it's like really it's really dense. The story is it okay. So story. It can get very edgelordy and anime,
Yeah.
but when it's effective, it's super effective. It's probably, I don't say this lightly, it is probably probably the most violent, disturbing game I've ever played. Um, it's
Really?
really messed up in spots, like really messed up to where I'm like, wow, I wonder if anyone at Nintendo like played this because I'm playing this on my Switch. I'm like, that's like the imagery and stuff is really intense, like really gross and like gory and stuff. So, yeah, I would say probably the most violent game I've ever played in a weird way. But
Dang.
all the characters are fun. It does like your different arcs are almost like a romance arc, but there's all kinds of weird stuff that happens into there. It's the largest Switch game I've ever played or I've ever owned. It's about 40 gigs. And why that is because
What?
there is so much art in it, and every single, just about, if they're not thinking in their head, almost every line is voice acted in all these arcs and routes. Mind you, they did not hire a dubbing team. This is all subbed, because it would probably cost them a fortune to get an English translation of this. Like,
Yeah.
but just the fact that it's all like subbed and translated, it must have been a gargantuan effort, dude. To the point where there is a sequel to this to finish out this story, and it's not coming to like 2026, 27, they said.
What? That's
So it's
crazy.
a wild thing. It's a wild ride. There's so many different, the art is incredible looking. The soundtrack is really good and the characters are fun. There's really intense like fights where you get to make different choices and do different strategies, and it's kind of fun to see your character totally just like eat it. Like, oh, you just got stabbed through the chest, or oh, he's being tortured, and that's the end of your route. You know what I mean? Like, there's like crazy stuff. So, Tsukihime, Piece of Blue Glass Moon, really good visual novel, great for the Switch. Uh, I it's a hard one to suggest. You have to really know what you're getting into just to know if this makes a difference at all. I think it might be in the top 3 highest rated games this year. So the
Oh,
people
wow.
that do get through it and do like it, it's really good and really crazy and just
How much?
again, it's expensive. I
What?
would, it's like $50 or something. I mean, it's like a 60. I
For a
did get
book?
through. I did get through all
Yes.
the endings, all the routes, but I did not get through every decision and scene. So there's probably still 80% of that game I've not seen, and I put over 50 hours into it.
Wow.
So yeah, it is dense. But it's just at every corner, it surprises you the way they don't break the fourth wall. They're not like talking to you, but the way they use the format of a visual novel is really experimental and cool, to the point where like I'm trying to make a decision and it's like there's something physically stopping me from making this decision. Why is that? And you find out later in one of the interstitials after you die, and they're like, maybe if you were a little nicer to this character or you did this, maybe you could make that choice and this force will stop, make it so he's not stopping you. And so yeah, I'm really excited for the next one that comes out, and there's a prequel visual novel that's already out. I do want to play the other Type Moon visual novels now. It was just really dense, a lot, but I'm really glad I went through it. Very different from my normal stuff, considering there's no literal like literally no gameplay in this. It's all visual novel, just with a lot of choice. So yeah, that's Tsukihime, a Piece of Blue Glass Moon. Really cool. So
I
there you
mean,
go.
gamers really do desire when they play like a Telltale game or something like that, or
Oh, dude,
RPG.
that's like, yeah, it makes a Telltale game look like a four-piece puzzle.
Yeah,
You know what
literally,
I
like
mean?
the
Like,
gamers yearn for my actions should have consequence, and this game sounds like, yeah, everything you do has a consequence, and that's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, to the point where like at a certain chapter, there's like an entire branch line split, which can then branch again to get
Wow.
like a third ending of that branch. Like it's wild, dude. Very niche thing. So there's a few forums I was able to get like information on. I'm like, how do I get this like third secret true ending weird thing? And that ending was wild. The ending of
No
this
guide?
book jumped. I didn't use a guide. No, that's how good
Whoa.
the interstitials are at leading you in the right directions. There was maybe a couple things I did to give me kind of like okay, if I start over right here, how do I get to this story arc? And there were a couple times I listened to did that, but it's really good at like nudging you in the right directions, and it's fun to like hit brick walls there. So yeah, I won't talk about it anymore. It's really cool. The ending itself bumped it up like 2 spots above Metaphor and Stellar Blade. Such a crazy freaking true ending. It blew me away. Very cool. So
Alan Wake 2 did that for me. The ending, the moment that he referenced like the other endings, I was like, dude, this is peak. I'm sold.
yeah. The meta aspects of it are really good. So
Yeah.
that's my number 5.
So, let's rip the band-aid off, guys. I'm addicted to Balatro. Oh wow, I didn't know he liked crack so much. Balatro is great, and it's of course it's great. Like it's what captivated the entire like video gamers all around. It got any game of the year. Like everyone loves it. Everyone loves talking about it. The reason why I love it is because when I get into a game, and my number one is gonna be like be part of this too, where my entire like ecosystem, my YouTube, my TikTok, like sometimes my Twitter, like it bleeds. Balatro bleeds into my daily life to the point where like I'm thinking about the music, I'm thinking about like the content creators I watch like playing it, and also just like I like how Balatro kind of captures some of the energy that Vampire Survivor had, if this makes sense, where you look at a video of someone else playing it and you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. They're doing really cool stuff with it. But they do like this crazy run where they combine these cards together and you're like, whoa, I didn't think about doing that. And then you see that and like Vampire Survivor, they have like this I don't know, mega god universe like build. And like it has like these crazy visual effects. I'm like, whoa! Like it's like that. I feel like this game captures some of that energy. And I really love when like games do that where like you give you like mechanics, you learn from them and you try building your own decks with them and have fun, but then like if you get really good with it you can like do some crazy stuff, and I love that any game. um I love just being able to like do something, work and like clean, and like I'll have like a YouTube video like of a guy for an hour and a half just playing Balatro. I love it. It's so fun. If a game is that good that I want to watch content of it, it deserves a spot in my top 10.
Cool. Awesome. Balatro, number 5. Let's see if it gets higher than anyone else's list. So far,
Oh.
number 5. All right. Colton, you're kicking off our number 4.
Okay, number 4 is it. So it's something I have not finished, but I had a lot of fun with, and I will finish whenever I stop getting distracted by things like The Witcher 3 or like Helldivers or something, like multiplayer stuff kind of keeping me a little bit distracted as opposed to also like The Witcher stuff. But it is definitely Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really I was really liking it. I was a little worried going into it thinking that I might need like I might need to restart, Elden Ring, or otherwise it'll be way too hard just to jump back in again. And there definitely was a learning curve. I had to relearn. My biggest problem that I had is when I started the game, I was like, okay, I don't want to use the same weapons I used to beat Elden Ring with, and I was having a lot of trouble with that. So I just succumbed to my weakness, and I just started using my old weapons again. And then I started killing bosses a lot easier. But yeah, I think Josh had a very negative reaction when I said this, because he was over at the house one time when I was playing it. I kind of got over the fact that I was using older weapons to get through the boss, like the bosses of the game, because I think I think the boss fights are most definitely my least favorite part of Elden Ring.
You're so gross.
I don't think that's why I like Elden Ring at all. I just love walking around and discovering all the crap that they built in that game, and just to discover like more and more like secret, things to find, or like
It's the Breath of the Wild aspect that you love so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get
that's
that,
just
yeah.
that gets me, dude. That gets
And
me.
there's a
Like,
lot. They put a
yeah.
lot in
No,
those
yeah.
games.
yeah,
Like,
the boss fights literally are just like barriers for me, and once I stopped feeling bad about not enjoying them, I think I started enjoying the game a little bit more. So
yeah.
Cool.
I like it. Haven't beat it yet, but I do
will
like it.
I will say really quick, I want to jump in and say when Josh was over and we were talking about that, Colt was like, "Yeah, I'll show where I left off." And I was like, "Hey, can I try it?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So I popped off all of like Colton's like ashes and like what are they? Not ashes. The spirits. Yeah, like these like guards that are with you. Yeah,
Yes, that was the fight I was having trouble with
the moon
because
one, the moon and fire.
yes, because I kept using like the new weapons. And I was like, man, I just don't know. Like, I just can't. I don't have this weapon. I have it leveled up to like 9, like pretty high, but I'm just not used to it. And then I think you got on and I had you use my old swords.
I dual wielded your old sword.
Yeah.
I popped off all spirits. I used your like mysterious flask, and I what 3 tries?
Either your second
I,
or third, yeah.
I overwhelmed the boss enough to where they stopped focusing on me, and I just killed it. I will say, knowing that the director himself uses every mechanic he has in the game to beat the bosses because he knows how hard they are, that makes me feel so much better doing that because A, it's funnier. B, it is actually just more fun to like just gobsmacked a boss with like oh my like overpowered stuff. Like I love that. That's cool. If I were to actually buy Shadow of the Tree, I think I would enjoy it. I just wouldn't enjoy like what like you said switching an entire like weapon out or like doing a different like kind of focus of a build. I would find that be very jarring.
You'd want to start from like level 1 and go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my problem. Yeah.
I get that. All right, cool. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. We've never talked about Elden Ring on this podcast, so
Never. And we never will again.
Never.
That's right. It won't be on anyone else's list.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey Josh.
All right,
Hey.
Josh, number 4.
Number 4. Troy,
Huh?
you recommended a game to me,
Oh.
and I bought it immediately, and I played it the next day, or 2 or 3. It was actually rather long compared to what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
1000 Times Resist
Oh.
Nice.
is my number 4. I don't think I am well equipped to speak on the themes of this game,
It's a lot.
but I will say what had me hooked was the sci-fi, the world building that they were able to accomplish in such a tight story that somehow, like, I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's just it's a very layered game, and so you can just tell so much time and energy and thought was put into what the world was, and I think world building is usually the thing that great games can lack. And this game is all about its world and its narrative, and it doesn't care about anything else. And I usually don't like
Nope.
that, but this one just it works, and it's kind of obnoxious at this point how like it's not so much of like an underdog. What's the word? This game is
cult
it's
classic.
yeah, it's not a
Is that what you're
cult.
saying?
It's not really a cult hit anymore because it's just like it feels like everyone knows about it. But maybe I guess in the grand scheme of things it's a cult hit. But it deserves to be a hit. This game is good, and
It didn't
usually
sold as much as you would think, honestly. But yeah.
I guess, but for a game like this, I felt like it was a breakout hit.
Sure.
But I guess yeah, it's a cult hit, and I hope they make another one, or this team stays together and makes another game, because I have never been as interested in a story in a game as I was with this game.
Wow.
Dang. High praise.
Cool. Cool. I'm glad you played it, Josh. I think someone else needs to play this game.
Yeah, I'm
It
glad you
can't just be
recommended it.
me. It can't just be me. All right, cool. Thousand Time Resist. All right. My number 4 is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And this is an interesting one because I'm a big fan of machine games. I think those Wolfenstein games are freaking amazing. Uh, Especially the way they like write their characters and how they interact. Like it's just really fun story, really fun characters, and it's just yeah. So I was really bummed actually when they announced they were going to make an Indiana Jones game and not like the next Wolfenstein. And everything like leading up to this game, I was like, oh, it looks cool. I when I saw it was like first person, I was like, I don't know if I want that. Like, I'm almost like wanting, they haven't made a new Uncharted in a while. I was like, it'd be cool if someone made an Uncharted, but I'm glad they didn't. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, what's not very obvious from the outset is that it is way more a simulation game. So think more around the lines of like Dishonored or like the stealth aspects of Wolfenstein. And it is so much fun to interact with like different items in the world to use to distract or to throw to enemies or to bash them with like a guitar or throw a plate at them or throw
It's starting to sound very Hitman-y.
It is. And you
Yeah.
know what? It is. It's very Hitman-y, but at the same time, it's not as deep as that, but it's deeper than you think it would be, when you think of like an Indiana Jones game and like an Uncharted game. So for instance, like, in each area, you get different costumes and you can trade in and out of your costumes. And it's not like it's as complicated as Hitman where there's like 1,000 costumes. You maybe get 3 or 4, but that's just deep enough to just give it that little extra specialness.
Yeah.
Troy Baker does like a spot on impression of Indiana Jones. So all the voice work and stuff is really good. And what's really fun is the level design, like the world design and the dungeon, I shouldn't say like the cave spelunking design is all really, really good. Really good, really fun world to like sneak around. There's all kinds of like pretty much every building has like 3 or 4 ways you can enter or exit it. Uh, the mission design is awesome. There's side missions, but not like 1,000 of them. There's maybe like 3 or 4 that are all voiced and have a story, but that there's only like 3 or 4 per zone. So it seems like they really like wanted to give you some like meaty content. And there is like normal open world stuff, but not even to the extent you would expect, like, to be littered around an open world. But like it's really fun. The combat's fun. The everything's just a layer deeper than you would expect it to be, whether it be the stealth mechanics, the combat, the story, all the puzzles are really fun. And they're just they're like platforming puzzles, and they're not like super intensely hard, but they're all like really tactile and fun to do. So which is important in like an Indiana Jones game. All the character writing is really fun. All the villains, all like your companions that go in and out of the story with you are really well written. There's a few there's maybe like 3 or 4 set pieces. One of them, which is like extremely wild, where you end up and what's happening. Considering, I'll just say it takes place during World War II, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of like a World War II something or other, you know? So
Crazy.
it's very varied. It's fun. It's well written. It's addicting to kind of collect, like collecting different items. There's skill trees in a way you don't expect. Like when you play, you're like, oh, okay, I can whip people. I can do this. I can do this. And the more you get these books in the world and they do things you wouldn't expect, like give you like powers, not I say powers, it's a weird way of putting it, but they just give you abilities in different ways to interact with the world that you wouldn't have had the ability to do before. And so yeah, just top to bottom, what a good game. Indiana Jones Great Circle. I like super recommend it. It's free. I mean, it's not free, but just like pay for a month of Game Pass, play it, and it's a really good time. Especially if you like Hitman or Dishonored and Uncharted. If those are games that you're like, oh, those are like my type of games. I mean, dude, like without question, play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, and I played 5 hours of it, and I'm trying to do as much as I can to soak up like all the set pieces that I'm placed into. Like right now, I just got past the church, but like man, like just the church alone, it was so meaty. There's so much to do already, and like you said, like the performances are just so good, and the writing's actually fun. Like it fits very much well with an Indiana Jones like vibe, and I think that they nailed it. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's my number 4. It got way higher than I thought it was going to be because this was a game I was like interested to play it, but I didn't know I would actually like love it. So cool surprise.
I have a dilemma. Number three,
Uh
number four, interchangeable, and it's to a point
oh.
where
Uh
I can yap for all day about number four, but number three, I can easily be like, okay, what do you think, Troy?
oh.
It's your list, boy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I would
Fun
say
game,
maybe keep the
fun
one you can
game.
yap forever. Keep it a little below forever.
Okay,
Tiny below forever. Go for that one.
I played a game this year, and I binged it in like 3 hours because it's like a literally 3 hour game.
Huh.
And I told, I got my friends all got into it, and it's called mouthwashing. Let me
Oh, I want to play this.
let me read really quick the synopsis.
No spoilers.
No, this is the hardest part.
Yeah, don't spoil this game.
The 5 crew members of the Topar are shrouded and in the empty reaches of space, shrouded in perpetual sunset. God is not watching. So yeah, that's the idea, is that you are 5 crew members on a spaceship. You're mostly following one for the majority of the game. You get to go into the eyes of another one, but that character is pretty much like not playable in a sense of like they can't talk anymore. If you look at the game, and this is the lightest spoiler I can give you right now, there's a character who is bandaged up like disgustingly, is missing limbs and has no lips, and has experienced severe burns beyond our comprehension, and is alive, and is constantly fed like pain medicine. And basically, Mouthwashing is a psychological horror game that's very story rich and relies heavily on its characters and its themes. And its themes go really heavy. If you do not want a triggering kind of game to play, I don't recommend it. If you don't have like that patience, the emotional like patience to like, deal with a game like this, and it's similar to BoJack Horseman I mentioned earlier. Like I don't think you should be playing this right now. But Mouthwashing is still an incredible game with incredible themes, and makes for an amazing conversation to be had about the morally gray characters, not just about like the main problem, the main like event that makes this entire game happen in the first place. There's also other themes like alcoholism and addiction, and just general things of like us wanting to get through life and just scared to do a hard reset. It's a very grounded and real game with amazing visuals of a PS1 classic era, but sound design from that like feels like reminiscent to like maybe Silent Hill, where like you get this like moment in a game, and it's just like so nauseating and disgusting that you just can't help but cover your mouth while trying to like hurry up and get through the scene. And it's not like in a sense of like it's just horror where it's like scary. It's horror in a sense of like you feel like you're in a scenario that like what if like this happened, and like obviously that'd be terrible, right? No, like it's happening in your face right now. Like I'll put it like this: there is
Yeah, don't be
yeah,
careful. Don't ruin it.
can't.
We get it. We get it.
You
We
get it.
it.
You get it. You get it. Okay.
Actually, I just saw that MinMax just did an interview with the mouse washing team and the 1,000 Times Resist team together. So,
oh my god, dude.
So yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about games that are on this list, I think about games that have a chokehold on me. I dive into the media of it. It surrounds my ecosystem, like Balatro and Guilty Gear. This is one of those games, and I think Mouthwashing deserves to be played. Deserves the love, the thoughts, the awards. Even got nominated for the Dice Awards. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'll be playing this soon. Yeah.
I can't say much more than that. Go play it.
Cool. Yeah. All right. We're there. top 3. Some real,
Three.
yeah, we got some real strong stuff on our 4 and 5. So I'm interested to see what you guys got. All right, number 3, Colton.
All right, I will go ahead and say that I can't believe I was such an idiot. I didn't even think about mouthwashing in my game.
Dude, I literally got you on it. What?
Yeah.
No.
And because I didn't think about it, it may not sound like I enjoyed it, but I actually very much enjoyed it. It definitely would have made my top 10. But whatever. Mix it as your bait. Can't mix it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can redo it now.
Take Fortnite off. We don't need Fortnite.
No.
Honorary number 10. All right.
Anyways, yeah, I'll just say that mouthwashing was very good. It might be because I just spent so little time with it, compared to all the other games on this list. It really, really is like 3 hours and you're done. But it was very good, I will be. My number 3 is Balatro. Whoa. I think it's so funny every time I say that.
I don't know why, but his mic breaks up in a different way every time.
I know.
That one was especially funny, though.
That was fun. Yeah, Balatro it really has like this magic to it. It makes poker seem like a playground, with like the different jokers that can get matched up and just the type of combos you can make. It's great. It really I almost want to put it at number 2. But I'll leave it at number 3, knowing that it will at least stay on my phone, I'm sure, for like a couple years. Like that will be a game that I go back to every now and then, especially after this year, just to try to see how high I can get the score. It has like that. It is one of those games where like you watch a video of someone like scoring like the most absurd number you've ever think of, and it makes you feel like an idiot because you're like, oh, I can't get past like a single score of like 2 million. It's crazy. But it also kind of makes me want to learn how they're doing that, and it keeps me going.
Yeah.
And like what Josh said earlier, like it is so far like the best mobile game when it comes to like saving where you are. Like I can close the game out and not open it, like close it out entirely, not open it for like a week and a half, and I can jump back in and it'll put me at the the exact same spot that I stopped at, like in the middle of a run, and I love that.
Cool.
Colton, I think it's this year's Point B.
I think it's this year's Vampire Survivors.
Okay, yeah, that too.
I think. Yeah.
I'm thinking about like in terms of mobile gameplay, like
momentum.
That's like it's that perfect. Like, oh, pull out my phone, like let me like play a few rounds and I'll go back to where we're doing.
I will say, I feel like this is probably the most attention that Apple Arcade has ever gotten.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like, I'm surprised Netflix didn't grab it.
Yeah. I mean, like whoever grabbed it, whoever ended up grabbing it, I'm sure it's like since Apple grabbed it, I'm sure they love the fact that they grabbed it because it has probably gotten them a lot of money.
Yep, totally. All right, Josh, number 3. Here we go.
I forgot I was next. Oh gosh. Let's see. My number 3 is a game called Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
The Go.
You haven't even played it yet. Okay.
I'm excited to play it.
The Go.
I have a fondness for Prince of Persia. Whenever I was younger, I really liked the trilogy on the PS2, the GameCube era. I like the fantasy of, well, number one, as a child, didn't understand what Persia was. As a teenager, still pretty unsure. I was like, Dad, what's Persia? I look at a world map, I'm like, I don't know what that is. As an adult, I've come to terms with what it is, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I thought it was a made up place, but it feels like this fantastical kingdom still in my mind and in my imagination. And I like the fantasy of, well, unfortunately, this one you are not a prince. Spoilers, I guess.
Oh, no.
But you still get that same fluidity of like platforming. The mix between like, I guess you could call it like a puzzle platformer in sections. It reminds me of like Celeste a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a lot of times you're going for like precision movements, and you have this like arsenal of ways you get to move about. And I think being a gymnast, even in this like the 2D restricted world, is just really fun for me. I like it was one of the reasons why last year Jedi Survivor was my number one. The
Hmm.
the mobility, the movement was extremely enjoyable. And I think it was done here extremely well, especially, bringing this series to this generation. Sad to know that they won't be making another one.
That's
I
very
think,
disheartening. Yeah.
yeah, I think this game would have been my number one or two pretty easily if it was a bit longer and the story hit a bit harder. I think
Yeah.
it gets you to a point where you're like, oh, I'm like halfway done. And then you realize, no, you were like 80% done and you had like four things to do and then it's game over. And it didn't take that long. Um, and that was a little disappointing. It was like, it got me all like excited for the, like, oh, I have so much undiscovered. And it's like, oh, no, which doesn't usually happen with these kind of games. Like usually in a Metroidvania, you are like, "Oh wow, I've barely scratched the surface." But this one oddly felt short. I think I've heard people say it was longer. I think did Troy, did you say that?
I didn't beat it.
Okay. Well, it felt short to me, and that's just because I really wanted to keep playing, probably. But
Yeah.
maybe the pacing of the story was also a little bit weird. The story wasn't bad, at all. It was enjoyable to some degree. But if you, it's opposite of A Thousand Times Resist. It was pure gameplay with a weak story, but I
Yeah.
am so happy with it, and I hope that some remnants of that team comes forward at some point and produces something in that vein. But that's probably just not gonna happen.
Probably
But
the
yeah,
thing I didn't put together, Josh, last time we talked about this was actually the closest thing to Prince of Persia is Guacamelee. Guacamelee 1 and 2 are very like reminiscent, like the gameplay
really.
style and especially like the platforming style.
Can you
Uh
grab onto like one of those like poles and like fling yourself forward? You know what I'm talking about?
no, it's a little different than that, but just the way like
It's
the
bad.
level is built out where you need
So
to
it's bad.
yeah. No, it's a different game, but it's probably the closest thing that
Yeah, I really
that'll
should
get you
try that
there.
out. I've been avoiding
It's
it for so
older,
long.
but Guacamelee is great. So, all right,
Yeah.
cool. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Yeah, yeah. What a weird story with that. It's just like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
we all got laid off. I don't know. We got
Yeah.
somewhere else. Yeah, it's a bummer. But yeah, good game. A lot of people really liked it this year. All right. My number three, and I'm sure I'm the only one that's going to have this on his list, is Astrobot.
Ah,
Ooh, never heard of it.
Uh,
Yeet.
yeah.
how do you beat it?
So yeah, Astrobot. I mean, what's to say? I mean, what's to say other than it's probably the best platformer PlayStation has ever made. I mean,
Really, man.
definitely the best platformer that PlayStation ever made, and one of the
Um,
best if Nintendo had made it. So I really loved how they expanded this game out from the initial tech demo. I think I love when a game is not afraid to do like a one and done surprise in a game or a one and done ability. And there's a lot that do like repeat, and that's good because I have a lot of fun with a lot of the platforming abilities they put in there. But there's some that just like really surprise me, like the first time you do that one that shrinks you into like a mouse size, like that
Yeah, I love
level
that
is like
one.
amazing. Um, the way I mean, anytime a platformer can make an underwater level feel good, that's how you know it's like legit. You know, it's just like I like this water level. That's insane. But yeah, just the way they expanded it, the way I mean, it's just really is just an extension of that original tech demo, and that tech demo was one of my top games that year it came out, and this is so expanded. Music is awesome. All the deep freaking cuts, the deep cut
Oh
like
yeah,
PS1 deep cuts are
stuff I had to like Google. I had
insane.
no idea.
I counted there's at least like 16 of those bots I had to look up and be
wow.
like, "Oh, okay. I know I was like, "Oh, well, I wouldn't have guessed that." But a good amount of them I was just like, "I cannot believe they put this like thing in or this character all from like, ranging from like third party PS1, PSP games, you know?" So just the lengths the team went to like pull that stuff in is really fun. So I loved all the collectibles. I'm a sucker for it. I know some people are like, you're just playing like a marketing game, whatever. And
No,
No.
these are
no.
the
Play
same
the
people
damn
that
game
probably
first.
love Smash Brothers. Like, it's
Yeah.
not that. I don't see it that way at all. I really love that aspect, and they expanded it way further than I would have guessed. And recently I just beat the challenge levels they added in, where they added even more fun
The Christmas
bots.
levels? Yeah.
The Christmas level and the time trial levels, which
Mm.
add more bots and more things. So they're still adding stuff. The Christmas level is great too, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, just the way the soundtrack. Oh, the end of levels where you like play as a PlayStation like character. Those are all really creative and
Yeah, I
fun.
liked those.
I mean, just top to bottom, there's not much like I saw like, oh, well, this was a poor thing. It was just a really consistently good experience from the start to finish. And so yeah, I was really happy with it, and just really enjoyed it. It's really good, and all the little touches. It's those little touches that really make it, where it's just like, oh, I was not expecting to be able to interact with this thing, or the bots do something cute if you go next to the cow, or you know what I mean?
Huh.
Like, there's just all kinds of little things, and everything is so obviously. I was gonna say everything feels so tactile, but that's kind of the whole point of that game. But just even more so, I didn't expect to be impressed by the dual sense again after all this time. But this game made me be like, wow, like that feels insane,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I really loved Astrobot.
I
It was a really heartwarming time.
I want to jump in really quick and just say like, if they expand this game a little more and like just want updates like just a few more, I would love to see like, hey, this is like overkill, like overkill. But like, what if like all those bots you rescued, cosmetics, they're like you can wear them now. Play a level any of them because I would love to be so bad guy and just run around. It'd be so fun. Another thing
Yeah.
is like as someone who's played like 5 hours of this game and trying to 100% as I go, just the first world alone, there's so much love poured into that game, and like the way it feels in the DualSense, like you mentioned, God, it's so reactive, and it's just a constant drip of like dopamine, like goodness. I remember how I talked
Totally.
about
Yeah.
like a Cuphead and Delicious Last Course. I feel like
Uh-huh.
this game's gonna be more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, like most games, even my favorite games of all times, I see like you can see like the peaks and valleys. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not saying this game doesn't have peaks, but it certainly doesn't have valleys. You know what I mean?
Oh
It's
yeah.
just so consistently good and solid. I'm never looking back and being like, "Oh, that level kind of sucked." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not like every level is like my favorite level and I remember it after I beat it, but like, it's just all really good. So yeah, Astrobot number 3. All right, Azia.
Oh crap! It's me. All right. What do we love about video games, guys? We love the sense of discovery. We love getting on the couch or on our bed and popping in the disc and just being like, all right, take me away. A secret place. Take me away. It's Animal Well. I freaking love Animal Well. When I pop this in, I was like, damn, okay, this is already like just right out the gate, super cool to look at visually. It's just so satisfying. The sound design is already just like so soothing, and like the core mechanic of like just exploration, using what you have in your mind to like understand the levels and like in like the little puzzles, and thinking, okay, if I can't do this now, I'll obviously come back to it later. Classic Metroidvania, like like design. But I love about this is that it's a Metroidvania, so like you're constantly tested with like these puzzles, these secrets, like all these little things that you can like mess around with, and the eggs, like oh the eggs, like it's so fun and like just a good time. And then like you also the upgrades instead of getting that drip feed of power like in Super Metroid, like in Hollow Knight, you get that like no, here's a toy, here's a slinky, here's a little like disc, here's a
Slinky?
yo-yo.
I'm sold.
Yeah, like these little things that fit with the world and your little character is so it adds so much to the experience of like oh I'm just a little guy in a big wide world, and you're literally just like a neutral character, not like Wander where you're in like you're the bad guy in a sense. Like, no, you're just some guy just trying to get through the habitat of like literal like animals and just them doing their own thing. Chinchillas, you got your goose, you got like more. I'm blinking on names. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's just a cool game with like so much fun to be have, so much discovery, in-game content, challenges, and oh my god, this is what I've been waiting to say for all year. I've been waiting to say this all year. There are secrets in this game that beyond platinuming, which I did, that are like preparing for future content, for like future releases of like I think like a physical edition is gonna come out where you're gonna find out more secrets. You physically cannot without breaking the game get all the map discovered. And I find that to be so cool. There's a secret that like the developers were like, we don't think you're gonna find this, but we want to put it in there. And I'm not gonna spoil any more on that. But if you really want to push yourself and like really reach true 100% of this game, you're gonna love it. It's a completionist like dream. It's really cool. And well, you should play it. Even if you're not a big completionist fan, play it. Metroidvanias are so cool, and this is like one of the many I'm probably gonna be playing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you played it, Isaiah. It looks very cool. And again, yeah, Josh, I feel like it's such a Josh game too.
Yeah, I need to play it.
I know, yeah.
Kick you in the foot, bro. Come on.
Yeah. All right, cool. Colton, number 2.
So this is a game that came out today, and I feel like I do like when I think about myself and like the kind of games I play. I think the first thing I go to is a lot of like single player games. For some reason, I'm always like, no, those are the type of games I lean towards. But then games like these come out, and it just really reminds me that I do value a lot, or I value games that I feel like help you play with your friends very like really well in a very like unique and fun way. And I think sometimes I forget how much I value that in a game. And this game I feel like was by far and away probably, I mean, I guess I haven't played Call of Duty, but I mean, it's Call of Duty, so I mean, even though it's better than most that have come out, it might just be like normal Call of Duty. But I think it has to be like the best like multiplayer game out this year, and it's Helldivers. Like I just can't. I don't know. It was just it was just such a fun time, and like the way, just the way you like interact with your teammates, and there are certain weapons that are really supposed to be used, by you wear the backpack and you have the gun, and if you're using the gun correctly, you have one of your friends next to you loading your gun from your backpack as you go, so you're just like a non-stop like shooting grenades, you're like shooting missiles or rail strikes. And just the way you could talk to your friends in the game, and like talk to random people too. Like the tagging system is, I mean, you can't really do too much with the tagging system, but it's just enough to where like you can play with randoms as long as they don't leave your match in the middle of the match like they do with you, Josh. But I don't know, just it's really fun. The stratagems are really, I think it's a really fun twist on the game. So I mean, it's not really much. I can't really say too much about it that a lot of other people haven't said, but I very much enjoyed it. I really liked the style of the game, just the entire game like being like a joke, like a just a really really played out, but not like it's like overstayed its welcome, but it's like a really played out, just like patriotism joke. And I guess I'm not tired of that yet because I still like the game. So that is my number 2.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Like a year ago or whenever, literally a week before Helldivers 2 came out, someone's like, hey, that's going to be like one of the best selling, most popular games this year. I'd be like, no. like, yeah, I would have been like, yeesh, I hope people play that, because I played the original Helldivers, and it wasn't like, people didn't play the original Helldivers, and that was like, there wasn't much to play at the PS4 at that point. So it's just crazy to see how that took off. It's cool. But yeah, very surprising. Josh, number 2.
Me, my number 2 is so cool and unique.
Quirky.
It's so quirky. It's Astrobot.
Yay!
Yeah, this game is great. It kind of is the only thing that makes me happy that I own a PS5. I genuinely can't think of another game.
Number 8.
Well, no. This was the one. Stellar Blade was great, but like I could live without it. Astrobot was like, all right, this is the exact thing I needed and wanted, and they just they nailed it. Platforming experts apparently. Who knew? Yeah. I know you called the earlier one like a tech demo, but man, that was a game in and of itself, and I
It
loved
was,
that.
dude.
It
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
And
I mean,
and it's
yeah.
so surprising how much they like leapt forward without leaving anything behind.
Right.
Like I didn't miss anything from the tech demo. It was like, oh, they just like they knew everything was perfect and they just added more perfection. And that's got to be extremely challenging to not over bloat the game with
Yep.
ideas with how creative they seem to be. It's like they probably have so much unused content that they're probably trying to figure out for the sequel. Um, and that's super exciting. I mean, it's Astrobot. He's the mascot of PlayStation now. That's crazy.
Well
Yeah.
deserved.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Astrobot.
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 All right. Number 2. Dun, 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 dun. Curse you for making me talk about this first, Josh. Maybe. I don't know.
Haha.
But it is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is
Yes!
my number 2 game this year. And
Oh, you really like that one.
it was
I'm waiting for him.
it's such a difficult game to talk about because every time you start talking about it, you're like, oh, there's this aspect to it. Oh, and then there's this aspect to it. It's not, I can't just tell you, hey, it's like an open world game, like open world RPG, because that's truly, there's just like so much more going into it. And it's really hard to explain to someone who has not played it to see like how bat nuts crazy they went, So I will just give you an example. In Final Fantasy VII, there's this casino, right?
Mhm.
Wait, oh my gosh. The Golden Saucer. Thank you. The Golden Saucer. And you're like, okay, every time you think of something from Final Fantasy VII, you're like, how are they going to expand this in this day and age? They can't possibly it'll probably just be like a lobby and you get to go on the Ferris wheel or whatever. And it's like, no, actually, we stuffed it with like 30 mini games, and like different story content. And like you, at the very end of the game, you do a play that's all like it's weird, dude. That game is so weird. But at the end of the day, yes, it's very different than Remake, which was surprising. I mean, not surprising, but also surprising because when they said, hey, Final Fantasy Rebirth, it's going to be open world, like a part of me was just like, no, it's not. Like
Yeah.
you might have little areas that you explore, and like there's no way they can make like an open world with like the fidelity and the amount of content Remake had. And not only did they do that, they probably quadrupled the amount of content Remake had and still kept its quality up and fixed a ton of problems I had with the combat, with which the way you break people and like, you didn't have to have specific party members to beat certain enemies. It's still easier with some characters, but like a lot of my complaints about the combat was fixed. The open world, some areas I think getting around them is a little rough, but for the most part, even past that, like the areas are so well done and really visually interesting to look at and be in. And the music's like dude, I mean, we keep going over soundtracks. Like this soundtrack, it's kind of cheating because it hits you right in like the nostalgia bone. But the just breadth of music they put into this game is crazy. Like there's just one like throwaway side mission where you're trying to get this dog back to its owner, and not only there's like 3 or 4 specific made pieces of music with like dog barking and like a quarrel going like bow wow 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 like in the background, which changes when you get into
So
battle themes. It's
stupid.
so weird and stupid. They didn't need to do that, but they did. And that's truly like the line I said in pretty much every point of Rebirth was they didn't need to do this, but they did. And that's what makes it such a crazy like I don't know how this game didn't take them 15 years to make. Like it's that packed with like weird stuff that it makes you think like, oh, was this like 3 games they threw away and then like put back together? But it's better than that. It stays cohesive. At the beginning of the year when I was making my top 10, I thought it would be funny to put um oh shoot. Well, what's the card game? I'm why am I?
Belatra?
No.
Queen's Blood.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
There is a card game with yes, thank you. Yeah, I know. There is a card game within Rebirth that was gonna be in my top 10, not even as a joke. It's so good. It's my favorite, even over Bellotto. It's my favorite card game this year. I would play a game that was just Queen's Blood if I could. The music in that is great. All the best writing in the game is around Queen's Blood because everyone you face is just like a freaking Yakuza weirdo, like top to bottom. It's some of the best writing in the game, and everything you do has a storyline in a way you would not expect it. Again, I say, like, they didn't need to do this, but they did, which is give the card game this entire weird, like, storyline. So yeah, Rebirth is amazing. Only thing that maybe let it down is I think the main story, weirdly enough, is weaker than the rest of the game.
Really?
I think it partially has to do with the pacing because there's so much to do. It's really hard to keep that momentum of the story going sometimes. But I mean, there's like a turret section where you're fighting something in a Jeep and driving. There's like, dude, I could go on and on and on about the weird. There's a cruise ship level where you're just doing card tournaments on this cruise ship and having a good time. There's Segway. There's like a Segway mission. There's dude, it's insane. You get different modes of travel throughout the world. The combat is as good as it was in remake, if not better, definitely better. But yeah, I there's not enough like good things to say about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's a really crazy thing. I can't believe they made it the way they made it, but they did, and they're gonna make another one, which is wild. Where they're saying that it's gonna be even bigger, which I don't. Again, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but now I believe them. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is my number 2 this year.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Who can top the GOAT? Who but themselves can top their own freaking game? It's Supergiant Games. It's Hades 2 for early access. For how it stands, for where it stands right now, I think Hades 2 is amazing and nearly perfect. Now, obviously, the story is not done. The ending's not ready. And there is probably some more content we're to be expecting, like another major content. And after that, potential release. I don't know that's going to happen all that happening this year, or it's going to carry on to next year. But regardless, Hades 2 as it stands is a wonderful game. Okay, let me put it like this. Hades 1 and any Supergiant game, if you played a video right now on the TV, I would sit there for 30 minutes just listening and watching characters talk for like maybe even hours, because I find the writing to be that engaging and the performances to be that believable and just genuinely like clenching my body, like it's like shaking me, like I'm real. I'm like, oh my god. And then you look at the gameplay, right, and you have this like addicting rogue light where you have these boons, you can upgrade, you can like start off the run with like this one thing, this one little thread, and you'd be like, okay, I'm running with this thread with this weapon combo, and I'm gonna have this entire like build centered around it, and it's gonna be like mega killer, one-shotting enemies towards the end, and like bleeding through enemies' health and bosses. And then you get that story where like in this game, it's like years in the future, the House of Hades is like pretty much taken over by Kronos, and it's your job as Melinome, daughter of Hades, to reunite with her family and kill the Tide of Time. But not just that, there's trouble going above with the gods of Olympus, and now it's your task to climb Olympus and discover new areas that you wouldn't see in the first game, and also some familiar ones, you know, some revisited. And like and explore all this new content and have all these amazing new music that blends all these like genres and new instruments that we haven't heard from the first game. Like Darren Korb, I mentioned the first time I mentioned Hades 2. I talked about it. Darren Korb collabs with different people. And they got a whole orchestra for the Olympus segment. It is so cool. It's so cool. It's so addicting. I can pop in right now and just jump into Taurus, get my scythe blades going right now, my dual wields, and be like, all right, I know what I'm doing. And I would kill Kronos. I might get close. I will die a few times, but I don't care. I'm still coming back on top. Hades 2 is a wonderful, just delightful game that is going to be so packed with content, and it's going to have all this amazing writing, which it already does. It already does, right? And it's going to be so cool to see how it looks at full launch. But as it stands, it's pretty freaking great. Like, god damn. I love Hades too. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
I'm holding strong for 1.0.
I
I'm
know.
holding strong for 1.0. I've not even
Shaking
listened to a
you.
single piece of music.
You're
That's
shitting
how
me.
no, that's how clean I'm gonna be coming in on 1.0.
He's
So
on media blackout with Hades.
yep, I literally am. I'm like, there's no way at this point I'm gonna ruin a single thing.
Hey,
So
hey, Ben stars in this, by the way.
it'll be great. I know. Yeah, he's in Expedition 33 too. I know. Every good RPG now needs Ben Starr. I know. All right. All right. We're down to it, guys. Number 1. Let's do it.
Let's rock.
Colton.
Okay,
What is-
my number 1 is very clearly Astrobot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Astrobot.
Someone
really
did it.
Is, yeah, it really is just like, I don't know, like just like probably one of the most flawless games I've like played. Like there is, I don't know, it was just like nonstop, just like just fun. Just I would just say the same thing everybody says about the game. It's so like perfectly made, and it just made me like, like I wish one of those would come out like every year. Like I so badly want a game that polished, that fun, that clean looking. I want something like that every year, and it makes me sad that we don't get something like that every year. But I was happy to play that. I had a very good time with it. All of the bots that you could collect were great. I loved all of them. I had to look like a third of them up though, because some of them were just freaking crazy cuts from a time when my brain was not fully functioning, so I don't remember that time very well. But it was still fun.
Yeah.
I think that's all
I don't think we mentioned the bosses either. The bosses are like really good.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
like the little
bosses
mini
are good, yeah.
bosses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're really visually crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, like I would have like my little brothers, over, like, and sister, and they just had, they had a blast. Like they would just take turns,
Oh
whenever
yeah.
whenever one of them died or passed like to the next level, they'd like hand the controller over, and they absolutely loved it like the second they started playing it. So
Yeah, it's
fun.
the game I've handed more people this year than anyone else. I'd be like, "Oh, you want to see a cool game?" 'Cause, yeah. It's not like Mario where everyone knows a Mario's come out or whatever. They're like, "What is this?" And you put the controller in their hand, they're like, "Whoa,"
Yeah,
It's cool.
It's just got such a nice charm, like
Yeah.
and like almost every time when I was first going through it, I'm like, oh my god, those are like robot turtles, and I'm like, Victoria, come look at the robot turtles, It's just like, oh my god, she loves it, and then I find like robot frogs, and I find like robot mushrooms, and I don't know, just like the
Lemurs.
theme and
Yeah.
the style of the game was just really, really nice to witness.
Yeah. Such a feel good game. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Josh, we're there.
Okay.
What is your number 1 game of 2024?
I'm excited.
Believe it or not, my number 1 is Final Fantasy VII
Let's
Rebirth.
go!
Maybe you'll do better than I was trying to explain it.
I
Go ahead.
absolutely will not. This game is wild. It's nuts. It's crazy. I've never played Final Fantasy VII, the original. I played Remake. I loved Remake. I don't think it was my favorite game that year, but over time it grew on me, and then Rebirth came out and I was like, oh, it's open world. I really don't like open world stuff. This isn't gonna go well. This game is so much better than like an open world. Like I feel like that's taking away from it to use it as a focal point. It's an open world game, but that's one small aspect. This game is doing so much, pulling from so much of its past and so many different like genres of things that it tries to. It's not quite on the level of like near Automata, but it doesn't care that the ideas are off the wall. Like it doesn't care that the characters can sometimes kind of be nonsensical. It's just it wants to charm you, and I think it does that
You
every
high
step of the
five,
way.
you high five that dolphin, and you become frogs and play.
Dude, it's yeah. I
Yeah.
I can't remember the amount of events that I just went, what? What's happening? What? What are we
Why am I
doing here?
playing Rocket League with a lion? Like, I'm
And
like, what?
and I will admit, at first I was a little like disappointed because I liked the idea of what Final Fantasy VII was based on the remake where it was focused in oh man, I'm gonna blank on the
Midgar.
name. Yeah, Midgar. Um, I loved that the way they built up the world there, and I didn't realize how much Final Fantasy VII, the original, goes beyond that,
Oh yeah.
and how different it feels. It doesn't really stick to those same themes and ideas as strongly as I thought it would have. Um, so it was really exciting once I kind of let go of that idea of what I thought Final Fantasy VII was, and really appreciated Final Fantasy VII for the characters and their relationships and uh, the kind of whimsy of not really knowing what this development team was going to throw at me next. Um, and like you said, the story it's not bad, but
No,
it's
no,
the
no, it's
worst
not.
part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this game is just it's phenomenal. It could have been better, but I think it's hard to see that without having the third game in the series.
Sure.
Um, it's possible we'll look back on this one and go, "Oh, I totally get what they were doing." I'm
Yeah.
not positive in that, but it's weird that they're having to kind of leave off these games in strange spots because they weren't designed. The story wasn't designed originally to be split up. Um, I I think I was not unhappy with where we left off. I have a lot of questions. I think the outrage some people have about the story is confusing to me because I just don't understand the story from the original. But
They're overreacting.
yeah, it definitely seems like a lot of people are overreacting. The game is amazing. It's my number one for the year. I'm gonna say it wasn't really that close. Like I was
Wow.
surprised at how much I fell in love with the characters and the world of Final Fantasy. So much so that I think I'm a Final Fantasy fan now.
Hey
Uh,
man, welcome to the
Which was
club.
not what you said when I met you. You're like, don't care
yeah,
Final
I was
Fantasy. And I'm
always
like,
like
what?
curious. I was like, yeah, the one I played was Final Fantasy 13. Like I played some of
Oh,
that. And now I went back and after I beat this and I was like I'm gonna play Final Fantasy 1. So I played like 4 hours of that and I was like, well, there's no story here. So I'm gonna look into some of the other Final Fantasy games. So now I'm in this deep rabbit hole of like which Final Fantasy I should jump to next. I'm
Oh,
just
I got
very
some.
much
Yeah.
excited
I got
about
you.
Square Enix in their Final Fantasy bag, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for them to go multi-platform so these games can actually sell what they deserve to sell. Because I was so afraid, dude, when Rebirth came out that they were
Yeah.
like going to be like, oh, we can't do as much with the third one as I thought we could. I'd be like, no, please, like whatever crazy formula, whatever team you have, it's freaking working. Like keep going.
Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
heard that like because they'll have to like keep some of the like later ideas of how the open world works for the third game. Like I don't know how they're gonna do that. So
Yeah,
They'll
I
surprise
know.
us.
They will. I
yeah,
mean, if anything, like I said, if anything, Rebirth said to me was like, I'm not going to underestimate them this time.
No.
Rebirth hit. I was with you, Josh. There was, for a good portion of time, I was like, there is absolutely no way anything else beats this year for me. But alas, that brings me to my number
There
one.
you go.
There we go.
What a segue. What is it? All right. So my number one game this year is 1000 Times Resist.
Oh, you really liked it that much? Wow.
1000 Times Resist is the game this year from the literal minute it started to the time it ended to the end of this year. I have thought about this game and its story
Yes.
and themes almost once every month, like since I beat it.
Dang.
It is so effective at what it's trying to do. Like Josh said, at the end of the day, this is like a story game. Like it's not a visual novel, but it might as well be.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it isn't because the just the different environments and stuff are really striking. So I love the way they did it. But I would say this is a very small team, but I think this game has some of the best writing in video games I've ever seen. I'd put it right up there. I mean, it's funny because when I was playing this, I'm like, ooh, like how haunting and like how weird and uncanny like these environments are, especially the future. There's like a future timeline in this. I'm like, oh, like this is very near. Like this is super near in a way I can get down with. And then later I was like, man, like this reminds me a lot of like 13 Sentinels, like Aegis Rim or whatever. And then later those were like two of their like biggest inspiration game wise. I was like, that makes total sense. And there's like Evangelion all over this thing, like very much my type of thing. Plus the fact that the writing and the voice acting, especially, is spectacular. Like, I don't know what it is about like the timbre of the way they like give their lines. It's not I Josh, do you know what I mean? Like everything they say is just like so like well paced and interesting and weighty.
Yeah, it some of the characters I almost feel like close to monotone, but not quite.
Yeah.
Like they have
Like
this
it's
like
uncanny.
subtlety and yeah.
Yeah.
Especially uncanny, especially the young the your little
Oh, the little
fairy.
robot.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He's a great character in that game. Oh my gosh. So yeah, like it's not even just the voice acting good. It's the writing, some of the best writing, and it's actually the voice acting reminds me a lot of how Supergiant delivers their lines.
for sure.
Yeah.
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 You know what I mean? Like that kind of like monotone, like whisper, but there's a lot of like subtext in it, and they
They're going
nailed
for a
that.
much more natural feel in the dialogue instead of they're not it's not as theatrical as some
Yeah.
performances are.
But they're getting kind of in that thematically it really works because it's like it's pretty heavy
Yeah.
and like as it the way they layer and unfold this story because there are I wouldn't even say time jumps but there are but there's not but it's
Right.
the way they tell their story is so layered and well done. It's both really deep and complicated but easy to follow,
Hmm.
you know, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. And they have, like this is a sci-fi story and some really bad stuff went down in the world. Like really, really bad. And the way you interface with whatever entity it is you're interacting with, like the haunting way they wrote it and the haunting way like they did the voice work and like the modulation and stuff is so good. Like the audio and the writing. And so each chapter you go back to like your base. I'll just call it a base. And you can talk to all these characters and if you're playing this game, if this, it's not often I say you need to play the game this way, but I highly suggest in 1000 Centuries you talk to every single character you can in every chapter. And it'll let you know if you haven't talked to someone or if you have. And
Yeah.
so I did that, and it just makes the experience so much better. Because again, the writing is just that good. And I can't say that about barely any games that I want to go to every townsperson and see what they have to say. But it just
Yeah.
lets you into like what's going on. And there's things you look back on. And let me tell you, the way they bring it all together with the ending, Josh, you know what I'm talking about? The final choice as, I guess you can make.
Yes.
It's so crazy. It's so bat nuts
Absolutely.
crazy that I literally pulled in Sam and like gave her backstory and story. I'm like, and this is like what it wants me to do. And it's like, and even she's like, that is like really cool. Like that's kind of crazy. Um, and yeah, so you can get like different endings and depending on what you're doing, and nothing feels like the exact right choice. It's very interesting to play. You're sometimes playing a character you don't quite like and agree with, but like the story wouldn't be the same without like the greed of this character, and that's kind of like where like thematic elements come in. The music is amazing. The I would say the art style is like in between like a PS1, PS2, like generational kind of mix, but the way like they
It
contrast
stands out.
colors,
Yeah.
yeah, the way they contrast colors and stuff is like really striking and really like otherworldly, which is exactly like it's kind of that's where I would say that its visual style is very like Evangelion-esque. So if you know like how weird and alien Evangelion can get, it's very much like along those lines in areas. But man, dude, I cannot suggest this game enough. It's longer than you would expect, but it's like oh, I'm so glad it kept going.
Yeah,
Like
I think y'all have convinced me to try it out.
Me too, honestly.
Yeah.
it's an incredible game. It's really good. And again, it's the game I have not stopped thinking about since I beat it, since I started and beat beat it. And it's really good. It's on Switch, it runs how it runs on Switch, but it is also on PC. It should run well on like your rig, Colton, if you want to go that direction.
It better.
But oof, what a good game. A Thousand Times Resist came out of nowhere. And just like totally took, it's a game I will remember rest of my life sort of thing. Like a
Yeah.
top 10,
Wow.
like just it's not a game that's gonna like fade in my memory, So
No.
yeah, loved it. Could not suggest Thousand Times Resist enough. So I'm glad you played it, Josh. It's cool to see it in your
Me
list.
too.
So cool. Isaiah.
Boys, I love getting lost and immersed in games like in Hollow Knight. I love the feeling of asking myself to play a bit more, like one more day, 1 more hour. And I love learning about the colorful traits that from like characters and the cast that they have, like an Undertale. I love routing and maximize my time throughout like the levels, like Persona 4 Golden with like dungeon system, the social links, the activities. And I adore when I have the option to play more, and even beyond the base game, like in Monster Hunter World, just content galore. And I think Stardew Valley 1.6 update captures everything I love about those games. This game was had such a significant update to the point where like it added an entire new way of replaying the game. What's up, Troy? What's up, Josh?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure.
No, you're good.
Literally concerned it was like, hey, get a new farm going on and replay the game because we had so much new content that basically like reworks like the very core mechanic of, hey, here is the city hall. You can now progress it much differently with all these new items, and you have these new events. You got these new like just general like mechanics, like a mastery system for your weapons. It goes so much more, and there's an entire new epilogue to the literal ending of the game that makes you like, oh, there's like more to this world, and it's just so cool. The fishing, the farming, the idea of like, okay, I have this much money, I have this much land, I have prepared for the new season that's happening. I can go to the shop, buy all these different kinds to fill out the city hall, and also I could use those items and like the things I plant and stuff for the characters, the traits, the cast, where I can upgrade all their affinities, all their relationships, and have these bachelors, bachelorettes you can choose from. Marriage is an option. You can have kids. And it's just so good. When you look at someone who plays Stardew Valley for 1,000 hours, you look at their farm, like, wow, this is like crazy. What else can they do for this game? They do more. They even added 8-player co-op. Me, Colton, our family, like on like your mom.
We maxed it out. We got 8 people on a farm.
We got 8 people on a farm, dude.
That's crazy.
This, I just to show you, I am not pulling out my ass when I say, "Oh, it's just an update." No, I'm gonna post a link right now. Look through this Stardew Valley 1.6 update full change log. It gives you the lowdown of how deep it goes, and I think even as someone who just got back into it, or just started it really before even the 1.6 update, even then I was like, "Wow." Guys, I think this is my favorite game. Not even like my favorite game, like forever ever. I really do think another game takes that crown. We'll talk about that probably in another episode. We'll see, but like, it's top 5. I would get in late game. I would do this. I would plant these items for like profit and for the city hall, and then I plant a few of them for my characters. So when those would come up, I'd grab all of them together, all the gemstones from the mines, all this crap, and I would start early in the morning with all of my watered crops and my fed animals. And I go this way. I give this person, this breakfast item. I go this way to go give this item to this character, and they'll be at this place at this time. So I'll be able to give it to them then, and then you get into like the actual like relationships and like learning about these characters. Like take example, a classic example, Shane. Homeboy's depressed, down in his luck, alcoholic. My boy is in the dumps, and his relationship is relatively relatable. Where homeboy's just lost. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to fucking
a friend, dude.
He's going to fucking Walmart. He's working at Walmart. Doesn't know what he's doing. But he's got blue chickens and doesn't realize all these like cool things about him. So he doesn't like really expand on them. So when you are there to listen to him and be his friend, you're able to save.
It sounds like a social link.
Yeah, literally, you're able to save him from suicide. That's why I mentioned I love routing and maximizing my time, and also like character like casts and like getting into them, involved with them, like an Undertale, like a Persona 4 Golden. Like it's all here. Everything I love about games and things I didn't know I love about games is here. And there's so much more. I have 110 hours on my Switch, and I clocked in like 25 on my Steam the moment the 1.6 update came out. There's more. I love video games, and Stardew Valley, it sucked me in like Tears of the Kingdom did. I was like sleepless nights, like just constantly playing. One more day, 1 more hour, just a few more. Just squeezing out every drip feed of dopamine I could from this game because I just had so much fun. I love this game. And I think everyone who likes these things about these games that I mentioned should try Stardew Valley. And 1.6
Cool.
update is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That's a cool number 1. All right, guys. I think that's it. That's our top 10 games of 2024. Before we wrap it up, do you want to just go through your list one more time? Real quick, starting from 10.
Sure.
And we'll wrap it up.
For sure.
Colton?
Let's do it. Colton.
All right, now keep in mind that mouthwashing should be somewhere in my top 10, but let's not think about it. So starting from 10 to 1, we got Fortnite, Rocket League, Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, Lockdown Protocol, Age of Mythology Retold, Tiny Glade, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Balatro, Helldivers 2, and Astrobot.
All right. My 10 is I Am Your Beast, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, Balatro, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, 1000 Times Resist, Prince of Persia the Lost Crown, Astrobot, and best of all, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh, by the way, Elden Ring did not make my top 10. I did beat it.
That's crazy.
I beat
That's
it all the way
crazy.
through it. There was
It
just
didn't make
enough
mine either.
new exciting stuff this year. So this is a very good year for me. All right,
Yeah.
here we go. Number 10. I won't need 1 through 10. UFO 50, Neva, Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor Refantasio, Stellar Blade, Tsukahime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon,
Nice.
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and 1000 Times Resist.
And then from 10 to 1, I have Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC, Riders of Ether 2, Me-Side, Guilty Gear Strive, ABBA update specifically, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, Balatro, Mouthwashing, Animal Well, Hades 2 in Early Access, and Stardew Valley 1.6.
Awesome. That does it
Very
for
cool.
our top 10, our games of 2024. Everyone listening, thank you for sticking with us, and have a great 2025. Bye.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Bye.